Chapter 1. Xian Dynasty, Dingquan Province, Fog Snow Pill Sect, Long Herb Peak. In a narrow crack. Below him was a bottomless abyss. The cold wind in the darkness woke Li Zongjiu up. At this moment, Li Zongjiu was covered in wounds. There was even a fatal sword wound on his waist. The piercing pain that came from his body caused Li Zongjiu's unfocused gaze to gradually focus. Why am I here? When Li Zongjiu woke up, he realized that he was hanging on a horizontal tree. After a slight struggle, the tree branch began to shake violently. If he was not careful, he would fall down. This scene was so familiar. Am I not refining the 4 dragon souls in the void cave and breaking through to the absolute saint realm? Li Zongjiu tried to recall what had happened. As the infamous evil lord of the Saint Martial continent, he had climbed to the peak in just 2,000 years. However, this generation's genius was not satisfied with staying in the absolute saint realm. Therefore, Li Zongjiu studied alone for 500 years and finally refined a unique pill. The ancient sovereign soul merge pill. After successfully refining it, Li Zongjiu killed the 4 dragon sovereigns of the Saint Martial continent, in an attempt to merge the 4 dragon souls and break through to the absolute saint realm. However, at the last moment, the dragon souls tore each other apart, causing Li Zongjiu's soul to experience a strong impact. After the tearing pain and darkness, when he woke up again, he saw this familiar scene. Whoosh! 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 The crack above Li Zongjiu's head wasn't very wide. 2 pairs of feet kept stepping over it, as if they were chasing after something. Quick, don't let Li Zongjiu escape. How dare he steal the Pill Sect's secret scroll from Long Herb Peak? This time we must pierce his heart with 10,000 swords. Long Herb Peak? Pill Sect's secret scroll. Li Zongjiu blinked and adjusted his breathing. He looked at his palms, and the shock in his eyes couldn't be calmed down for a long time. What? What the fuck? I've actually been reborn. Li Zongjiu couldn't believe it, but everything around him was vivid in his mind. This was the place Li Zongjiu wanted to return to the most, the moment when the enemy's fangs gradually spread out and devoured Li Zongjiu's family. It's true. Li Zongjiu took a deep breath. However, the excitement in his heart was not something that could be easily suppressed. That Li Shang set me up, and even led the disciples of Long Herb Peak to hunt me down. That was how my clan was wiped out. Although Li Zongjiu had taken revenge in his previous life, he had caused his entire family, including his father and mother, to be killed. By the time Li Zongjiu had the ability to take revenge, it was already 20 years later. This time, Li Zongjiu wouldn't let the tragedy repeat itself. Just as Li Zongjiu was about to climb up, he found that there was something strange about the tree he was lying on. Wait, this fragrance? Is this the fruit of the fiery golden rat? Li Zongjiu searched the tree under the cover of the night, and finally touched a fruit that was emitting a dim light in the dark night. After plucking it, he could see the crystal-clear flesh of the fruit. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu was in a hurry to escape, and his knowledge was shallow, so he didn't know that this was the fruit of the fiery golden rat. Now that I'm seriously injured, and my cultivation level is only at the 3rd level of initial origin stage. If I want to refine this fruit, I'll need to replenish my blood and qi. Li Zongjiu stuffed the fiery golden rat into his clothes. Just as Li Zongjiu was about to climb up, a flame suddenly came into the crack, and just happened to illuminate Li Zongjiu's face. Li Zongjiu also saw the person who stuck his head down. This person was one of Li Shang's underlings, and also a branch disciple of the Li clan, Li Go. When Li Go saw Li Zongjiu's face so close, he revealed a shocked expression, but quickly reacted and was about to shout. However, Li Zongjiu was even faster. His feet kicked off the ground, and his body stretched out, rushing in front of Li Go. His hand was like an eagle's claw, and grabbed Li Go's neck, and directly dragged him into the crack. Crack! A crisp sound came from the darkness, and the torch fell into the valley and was extinguished. Li Go's neck fell on Li Zongjiu's leg. Dead. He clearly had the strength of a grade 4 yuansher, but in front of Li Zongjiu, who was a grade 3 yuansher, he had no chance at all. Even in death, Li Go did not expect that this originally weak and elegant young master would be so ruthless. Without warning, without leaving anyone alive, he grabbed his neck and directly broke it. In my previous life it was you who discovered me and attracted Li Shang and the others, causing me to fall and break my leg. In this life I'll start with you." Li Zhongzhou's eyes flashed with cruelty and ruthlessness. Then with a palm, he directly broke Li Gou's neck on the spot, and threw his head away. Fresh blood spurted out from the broken neck. Li Zhongzhou immediately used his elemental energy to collect the fresh blood. Blood was no longer spurting out from the neck. Li Zhongzhou used the long knife at Li Gou's waist to cut off his upper body, and many of his internal organs fell out. He continued to use his elemental energy to collect the fresh blood from the wound on Li Gou's waist. "This is enough." Li Gou casually threw Li Gou's corpse to the side. Li Zhongzhou sat on the tree, elemental energy surging in his hands. The nearly 5 kilograms of fresh blood in his hands kept rolling as Li Zhongzhou refined it. Heaven Void Divine Form Record Rise. The elemental formula that Li Zhongzhou cultivated was called the Heaven Void Divine Form Record, and it was the best elemental formula that Li Zhongzhou had found in his previous life. However, this elemental formula's realm ultimately stopped at the Supreme Being realm, and could not enter the Supreme Being realm. Therefore, Li Zhongzhou took the risk to try it because this bottleneck was too long. As Li Zhongzhou used this method of refining medicine, the pool of fresh blood gradually condensed into 4 blood pearls. These blood beads contained extremely strong qi and blood power. There are actually 4 pearls. I'm too weak now, otherwise this 5 kilograms of fresh blood would have the best effect. But now it's not a problem to replenish my energy and refine the heavenly flame golden rat fruit. In his previous life, Li Zhongzhou had escaped from Longhe Peak during this pursuit. However, he was charged with the crime of stealing treasures. Later on, his father and mother were also implicated. In the end, Li Shang's faction succeeded. This was clearly a collusion between Li Zhongzhou's faction and the elder of Longhe Peak to obtain the position and power of Li Zhongzhou's father. This time, Li Zhongzhou did not intend to leave. "I, Li Zhongzhou, am the name of my clan, but back then my clan was persecuted. In this life, I will definitely make you pay with your blood." Chapter 2. Li Zhongzhou had used up quite a bit of his stamina to forcefully attack and refine the blood bead. Li Zhongzhou swallowed the blood bead. When he swallowed the 2 blood beads and refined them to a certain extent, he swallowed the heavenly flame gold rat fruit. As soon as the heavenly flame gold rat fruit entered his throat, the hot energy seemed to have turned into a rat and rushed into Li Zhongzhou's body. Immediately, Li Zhongzhou's young face showed a painful expression. One must know that the reason why the golden rat fruit was given such a name was because the energy of the fruit was like a rat with sharp teeth, constantly pouring into the body and gnawing on the insides of the body. But in fact, during the gnawing process, the energy was replenishing the damaged parts of the internal organs, helping to repair the body. The process was extremely painful. But compared to the hardships Li Zhongzhou had experienced in his previous life, it was nothing. This wasn't a big deal. This moment on the ground, Li Shang led a group of people to look for Li Zhongzhou's figure around the Longhe Peak. "This trash is so good at hiding. I want to let him go, but I might not be able to find him." Li Shang snorted. At this moment, a disciple of the Li family beside Li Shang looked at his elder brother in shock. "Let him go. Idiot, if we don't let him go, how can he escape? We will lead this disaster to Li Tianqing and catch him in one fell swoop." Li Shang sneered. In his previous life, he used this method to force Li Tianqing to give up the position of the family head. In the end, he was hunted down by Li Shang's family. This dignified family head of one of the 4 great families in Wuxia city actually ended up like this. "Who are you going to let go?" While they were walking, a cold voice suddenly sounded. Immediately, the 5 people were frightened and stopped. They turned around and saw a figure jump down from the tree behind them. Under the moonlight, the figure was thin. This figure was somewhat thin, and the bloodstains on his white robe were particularly conspicuous. The few of them saw this person's eyes. As the figure gradually walked out from under the tree, that young and tender face also gradually appeared. Li Zhongzhou. The person who came was Li Zhongzhou. Li Shang, who was very familiar with Li Zhongzhou, couldn't help but frown when he saw Li Zhongzhou. In the past, Li Zhongzhou looked at him submissively because he was older than Li and had a higher cultivation than Li Zhongzhou. In the heart of Li Zhongzhou, he was always the mighty and brave older cousin brother. But this time, Li Zhongzhou's gaze made Li Shang very uncomfortable. This was because the way Li Zhongzhou looked at him was as if Li Shang was already a dead man. This made Li Shang very uncomfortable. The reason for that was because in his eyes, Li Zhongzhou was merely a lamb waiting to be slaughtered from the very beginning. All these years, Li Zhongzhou's cultivation had been maintained at the level of a grade 3 Yuan practitioner. Even so, how could a mere Li Zhongzhou be a match for a grade 6 Yuan practitioner like Li Shang? Li Shang signaled with his eyes. The four men immediately split into two sides and surrounded Li Zhongzhou. Cousin, if you want to cultivate the elemental formula, you can tell me. Why did you steal such an important thing from the sect? Come with me to the elders and admit your guilt. As long as your attitude is sincere, I believe the elders will take into account that you are young and immature and give you a lighter punishment. Li Shang said. Oh, sincere attitude? Then tell me, what do you mean by sincere attitude? Li Zhongzhou smiled. In his previous life, it was this kind of trash in front of him that caused his family to be exterminated. Thinking about how useless he was in his previous life, he couldn't believe that he was killed by such a person. Hearing Li Zhongzhou's words, Li Shang raised his eyebrows. It sounded like he was sincerely asking for advice, but there was a hint of disdain in his tone. Of course it's to kneel down and let me break your legs and bring you back. Do it. Li Shang shouted angrily. Li Zhongzhou must have heard what he said. Since that was the case, he couldn't let Li Zhongzhou live. So what if you know? Trash will always be trash. Since you've already hidden, why come out to die? The four people beside him immediately pounced towards Li Zhongzhou. Like four wild wolves, they pounced towards Li Zhongzhou. To be able to become Li Shang's lackeys, the four of them had pretty good strength. They had all reached the 4th stage of the Yuan realm, and one of them had even reached the 5th stage of the Yuan realm. This person charged at the front. No matter if it was killing Li Zhongzhou or capturing Li Zhongzhou, he would have a first-class contribution. In front of Li Shang, he would have a better chance to perform. Die! Heavenly Hawk Claw! Li Hao roared and used his most proficient Yuan skill. Heavenly Hawk Claw. Although it was only an ordinary first-stage Yuan skill, Li Hao had cultivated this technique for nearly 2 years. When he attacked, it was like a hawk pouncing towards Li Zhongzhou. Heavenly Hawk Claw? I think it should be Heavenly Chicken Claw. Li Zhongzhou mocked. Facing the siege of these four people, he didn't seem to be nervous at all. However, Li Zhongzhou didn't seem to be nervous at all. Just as Li Hao's claw was about to touch Li Zhongzhou finally moved. His feet turned, and his body moved slightly to the side, dodging Li Shang's claw. In the next second, Li Zhongzhou actually grabbed Li Hao's claw. Break! Crack! Compared to Li Hao's Heavenly Hawk Claw, Li Zhongzhou's hand was naturally not as strong as Li Hao's. However, Li Zhongzhou's hand just happened to grab onto Li Hao's finger joint. When he turned, he simply broke Li Hao's finger without any suspense. Ah! Li Hao instantly fell to the ground and screamed. Another person rushed out and circulated the Yuan Qi in his body on the long saber in his hand. He slashed towards Li Zhongzhou. This slash was clearly intended to kill Li Zhongzhou. He lifted his leg and kicked Li Hao away, causing him to collide with the saber. Li Zhongzhou also took a step forward. He circulated his palms. When the opponent saw that it was Li Hao who was flying towards him, he hurriedly retracted his attack and caught Li Hao. However, he saw that Li Zhongzhou directly pressed his palms on Li Hao's chest, hitting a bull through a mountain. Boom! A terrifying force instantly poured out from Li Zhongzhou's hands. It passed through Li Shang's body and directly charged towards the person behind him. Bang! This Li family disciple, who was a 4th stage Yuan Qi cultivator, directly spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards, landing on the ground. What? So fierce! When the remaining 2 people saw that Li Zhongzhou was so strong and powerful, they actually did not dare to step forward for a moment. However, Li Zhongzhou took the lead and charged towards these people. Heavenly Hawk Claw. What Li Zhongzhou used was exactly Li Hao's Heavenly Hawk Claw from before. Although he had only seen it once, the power displayed was even stronger than Li Hao's. Chapter 3. 2 sharp gusts of wind clawed at the 2 of them. One of them dodged faster, but Li Zhongzhou managed to claw off a chunk of flesh from his shoulder. On the other hand, Li Zongjiu tore off a large chunk of flesh from the other person's neck. The wound was so large that fresh blood flowed freely. He lay on the ground, clutching his throat as he stared at Li Zongjiu in horror. He looked at Li Sheng with a pleading gaze. Unfortunately, Li Sheng only glanced at him indifferently. Most of his attention was focused on Li Zongjiu. He was extremely puzzled. How had Li Zongjiu undergone such a drastic change in the blink of an eye? Putting aside the breakthrough in his strength, the ruthlessness he had displayed during the exchange was something that ordinary people couldn't compare to. Even Li Sheng felt a trace of apprehension when he saw Li Zongjiu's expression. This guy, how did this guy? The disciple with the injured shoulder stared at Li Zongjiu in shock. You stole from the sect, deceived your master, and harmed your fellow disciples. You're worse than a pig or a dog. Li Zongjiu, Li Sheng, as the eldest disciple of Long Herb Peak, announced that you will be executed on the spot. Li Sheng took a deep breath. If he wanted to figure out what was going on with Li Zongjiu, he had to take Li Zongjiu down today. The Yuan power within his body began to circulate. A wave of Yuan power appeared between Li Sheng's palms. The Yuan power that Li Sheng cultivated was called the Blazing Earth Technique, and it was a Grade 2 Yuan power technique. It was an extremely powerful technique even among Grade 2 Yuan power techniques. If one cultivated it to a certain level, they would be able to gain the upper hand among Yuan power practitioners. As the Blazing Earth technique circulated, a wave of energy gathered around Li Sheng, as if a ball of fire was about to appear in the center of his palms. Blazing Palm. Grade 2 Yuan skill Blazing Palm. This move was still fresh in Li Zongjiu's mind. Back then, Li Zongjiu had been seriously injured by this palm and fell from the sky. Fortunately, there was an extremely deep lake at the bottom of the cliff, so he was able to preserve his life. However, due to the severity of his injuries, Li Zongjiu needed a long time to recover. When Li Zongjiu came out of the forest, he heard about the massacre of the clan. All the grudges between them had started with this palm strike. Blood Palm. Li Zongjiu mobilized the elemental energy in his body. However, when Li Zongjiu used the Blood Fiend Palm, he felt the shadow of a blood-red dragon emerge from the depths of his soul. This shadow roared at the sky, as if releasing a murderous aura. At this moment, the terrifying murderous aura almost made Li Zongjiu dizzy. Li Zongjiu, on the other hand, relied on his powerful will to suppress this terrifying blood fiend will. Moreover, this blood fiend palm was like a 10,000-ton flood that roared out. Boom! The aura that erupted from Li Zongjiu's palm was earth-shattering, as if it was a demon from hell. Li Sheng had originally vowed that this move would be enough to kill Li Zongjiu. However, in the next second, he was swallowed up by Li Zongjiu's aura. At this moment, Li Sheng only felt as if a ferocious and terrifying blood-red dragon had appeared in front of him, occupying his entire vision. In the face of this blood-red dragon's aura, Li Sheng could only become a ghost under its claws. Li Sheng flew backwards. When he looked at Li Zongjiu, he felt as if there was a terrifying aura surrounding Li Zongjiu. How is this possible? As a 6th-level Origin Realm cultivator, he couldn't even defeat Li Zongjiu, who was only a 3rd-level Origin Realm cultivator. This was too exaggerated, and the aura that this guy was releasing right now. Also, what he saw just now. What was that? A blood-red dragon? Did such a thing really exist? Li Zongjiu couldn't help but look at his hands. As the evil lord in his previous life, he quickly understood what had happened to his body. So my Prime Soul Fusion pill didn't fail. Although there's only the Blood Dragon Soul, it can help me increase my murderous aura. At this moment, his pupils had already turned crimson red. The Prime Soul Fusion pill helped Li Zongjiu in his futile attempt to merge the power of the 4 Dragon Souls and break through to the Absolute Saint Realm. But in the end, the 4 Dragon Souls went berserk and lost their energy. No one knew what happened, but in the end, Li Zongjiu returned to 3,000 years ago when he was still young. This brought along not only Li Zongjiu's soul, but also the Blood Dragon's soul. The only thing he didn't use was that the Blood Dragon's soul had already become Li Zongjiu's power. It was under the control of Li Zongjiu. The murderous aura has increased my strength. Li Sheng, show me your sincerity now. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Li Sheng was shocked. Looking at Li Zongjiu's current appearance, he was no longer the submissive younger cousin he used to be. He was clearly an unparalleled killing god that had just been unsealed. This aura was enough to make Li Shang break down. You're not Li Zhongjiu. Who are you? You're not Li Zhongjiu. Li Shang suddenly realized that the person in front of him might not be Li Zhongjiu at all. Otherwise, how could he be so powerful? Of course I'm Li Zhongjiu, the supreme Li Zhongjiu. Today, I'll pay you back double for what you did to me in the past. After Li Zhongjiu finished speaking, he stepped forward and stomped on Li Shang's knee, causing a crisp sound to ring out. Crack! Li Shang's knee broke instantly. The protruding bone pierced through his skin and came out. Ah! Li Shang screamed in pain. Blood dripped from the bone. Does it feel good? Li Zhongjiu squatted down and looked at Li Shang in pain. Li Shang wanted to say something, but Li Zhongjiu reached out and dislocated Li Shang's jaw. Li Shang could only open his mouth, but no sound came out. Li Shang could only stare at Li Zhongjiu in pain and anger. At this moment, Li Shang even suspected that Li Zhongjiu had been hiding his strength for so long. This time it's for you. Li Zhongjiu flicked his finger. A burst of elemental energy shot out from his finger. With a bang, it blew Li Shang's other knee into pieces. Li Shang's face contorted in pain. He did not understand why Li Zhongjiu would do this to him. Why did he break his leg? Why did he torture him? What was he doing? This blacklight blade was given to you by Lu Shun, you son of a bitch. Li Zhongjiu pulled out a dagger from Li Shang's waist. It was as black as ink, and the blade emitted a green light. When Li Shang heard Li Zhongjiu's words, his eyes widened. He no longer cared about the pain from before. He only looked at Li Zhongjiu in shock and disbelief. How is this possible? How is this possible? How did you know? Li Shang could no longer say these words. However, his expression had already told Li Zhongjiu the answer. How dare you steal the alchemy sect's secret scroll to frame me? You alone don't have the ability, Li Zhongjiu said calmly. The shock in Li Shang's eyes could no longer be erased. This way. In the dark night, an elder dressed in black was followed by a few disciples. They were moving quickly. Following the direction of the scream just now, it seemed to have come from this direction. Whoosh! Whoosh! A few figures landed in front of a large tree. A few corpses were hung from the tree. One of them had lost half of his throat. The other two had also died horribly. As for the last person, he could only be described as extremely miserable. His legs were twisted, broken, and his jaw was dislocated. His abdomen, a black dagger was stuck in it. Chapter 4. They saw Li Shang's tragic death. The leader's hand under the black robe couldn't help but twitch. Under his pale eyebrows, there was a trace of doubt and worry. The dagger stuck on the body seemed to be announcing something. When he saw this, his eyes darkened. How dare he kill my long-haired peak disciple? Investigate. You must find out who this person is. Lu Shun roared. The disciples behind him seemed to be shocked by the cruel scene in front of them. Within a radius of 1,000 miles, Fog Snow Alchemy sect was the #1 sect. Even in Dingquan province it was one of the top sections. Who dared to kill a disciple of Fog Snow Alchemy sect, and still be so arrogant as to hang the corpse at the foot of the mountain? It was obviously a provocation to Fog Snow Alchemy sect. Elder! Suddenly, a disciple saw a bamboo tube on Li Shang's body. When he removed the bamboo tube, he immediately turned pale with fright. He quickly carried the bamboo tube in his hand and walked in front of Lu Shun. Secret Alchemy Sect Scroll? Why is it on him? After seeing the Secret Alchemy Sect Scroll, Elder Lu Shun's eyes widened. He sucked in a breath of cold air. This was really shocking. This damn brat, did he not put it in? In an instant, Lu Shun put away the shock in his eyes and pondered for a moment. After thinking for a while, he immediately ordered the arrest of Li Shang and the others. Pass down the order. Li Shang stole the Secret Alchemy Sect Scroll from Longhurb Peak and was intercepted by us. He committed suicide here. Since we have been disciples for so many years, we will cremate him on the spot. Lu Shun said. Although such a big change had occurred, he was still calm. He destroyed the corpse and destroyed the evidence. The biggest shock to Lu Shun was the appearance of the black light blade. Since he was already executed, why did he leave the black light blade here? What was this announcing? Or was it just an accident? No matter what, he had to be careful. The disciples under him were also very surprised. Wasn't the one who stole the secret alchemy sect scroll Li Zhongjiu? Why did it suddenly become Li Sheng? However, these disciples had no choice but to obey the elder's order. He immediately cremated the corpses of Li Sheng and the others, leaving only ashes on the ground. It seems that this Li Zhongjiu has an expert helping him in secret, Lu Shun thought to himself. His expression did not change. After looking around, Lu Shun left with all the disciples. Since the secret scroll of the alchemy sect had been found, it naturally had to be placed back in the secret treasury. After Lu Shun and the others left, Li Zhongjiu slowly emerged from the darkness. Really is Lu Shun. In my current state I can't kill Lu Shun. I also need to study this strange power in my body. I'll let you live for a few more days. Thinking of this, Li Zhongjiu did not return to the Long Herb Peak. Although there was no problem if he went back now, Li Sheng could be said to have been caught red-handed. If the person who shouted to kill Li Zhongjiu saw him, he might have to apologize and explain that it was a misunderstanding. Turning around and going down the mountain, Li Zhongjiu slowly climbed down the cliff of the Long Herb Peak. When the sky gradually brightened, the sky began to brighten. Li Zhongjiu finally arrived at the foot of the mountain. His fingers were already scratched and his hands were covered in wounds. This place could be regarded as the back mountain of the Snow Fog Alchemy sect. Usually, the activities of the sect disciples were in the front mountain range. Because of the ferocious meta beasts in the back mountain, it was very dangerous. If an ordinary disciple came here, they would be courting death. Looking at the turbulent river in front of him, Li Zhongjiu was washed away by this river and started a new life. Now Li Zhongjiu did not need to leave this place. Turning around, he rushed into the jungle behind him. First, he found an extremely tall banyan tree and sat on it. He absorbed the spiritual energy in the early morning and turned it into his own meta chi. At the same time, he recovered his physical strength. Now, I can only barely operate the first level of the Heavenly Void Divine Form record. After a long time, Li Zhongjiu opened his eyes. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu had already cultivated the Heavenly Void Divine Form record to the 7th level. It took him 2,000 years, 500 years of alchemy, and 500 years of accumulation. 3,000 years of trying to break through, but to no avail. When I made my move, the blood dragon soul seemed to have some movement. According to normal standards, Li Zhongjiu had swallowed the sky flame gold rat fruit, and his cultivation had barely broken through to the 4th level of the Yuan realm. If he wanted to fight with Li Sheng, who was at the 6th level of the Yuan realm, it would not be a problem to kill him. However, defeating him with one palm was a bit exaggerated. However, the sudden appearance of the blood dragon soul caused Li Zhongjiu's strength to increase explosively. Li Zhongjiu was extremely shocked that he could cripple Li Sheng with one move. If that's the case, then let me see what exactly is going on with your blood dragon soul. Immediately, Li Zhongjiu's mind sank, and he wanted to mobilize the blood dragon soul in his body. However, there was no movement. After trying for a long time, there was still no reaction. Not coming out. Looks like it won't work under normal conditions. Li Zhongjiu withdrew his aura. He jumped down from the tree. Returning to the sect last night might not be dangerous, but it would not be good either. In his previous life, when he stepped onto the position of the evil lord, Li Zhongjiu deeply understood that strength was everything. Everything else was nonsense. Even if he was the ruler of this dynasty, in front of the evil lord, he would still have to bow his head. Therefore, before getting rid of Lu Shun, he still needed to gain more strength. In his previous life, Li Sheng's family succeeded in their scheme and successfully became the head of the Li family. The peak master of the Long Herb Peak also became Lu Shun. Obviously, there was some unspeakable secret. This time, Lu Shun would not be able to live peacefully. Li Zhongjiu had already entered the forest to find some materials to refine some elixirs to increase his strength. Other than the title of the evil lord, Li Zhongjiu also had a title that was revered by the world. Medicine Saint. Long Herb Peak, Elder's Pharmacy. After Lu Shun returned to the Long Herb Peak and reported the situation, he summoned his most prized disciple. At this moment, standing in front of Lu Shun was a female disciple with a slightly swollen body. Her eyes were fierce and wide open. Just her arm alone was thicker than an ordinary person's calf. Elder, why did you summon me? Jinju, you are my most prized disciple and also my most trusted disciple. I want you to do something. After it is done, you must not let anyone know. Also, you must not let anyone know that this is the mission I'm giving you. Are you willing? Hearing this, Jinju said without hesitation, Elder, Jinju will go through water and tread on fire. Good, I want you to kill that Li Zongjiu from the Li family. This person's behavior is improper, and he is ruthless and cunning. He has harmed many of our female disciples. You must kill him. At this moment, he should be hiding in the back mountain. Chapter 5. Looking at Jinju's departing figure, Lu Shun was also calculating in his heart. The person behind Li Zongjiu is definitely stronger than a Yuan master. He must be hiding among the Yuan practitioners. Jinju's grade 8 Yuan practitioner strength is enough to deal with him. If Jinju fails, I will definitely be able to find traces of this person. If Jinju succeeds, that would naturally be for the best. However, after this matter is completed, I must make Jinju completely shut up. For his own plan, Lu Shun could only do this. This was all because of the disobedient Li Zongjiu. One day later, Li Zongjiu was currently living a comfortable life in the back mountain. This was a dangerous place for ordinary people, but with Li Zongjiu's methods it had become a paradise. In the Heaven Void God record there was a mind-controlling heart sutra. Although there wasn't much research on it, it was enough to deal with these low-intelligence Yuan beasts. At this moment, Li Zongjiu was sitting on a grade 5 Yuan practitioner Steel Claw Black Wolf. This way, Li Zongjiu grabbed a ball of the Steel Claw Black Wolf's fur. Immediately, he and the Steel Claw Black Wolf changed direction and rushed towards a valley. Found it, the fire spiritual herb. Li Zongjiu quickly found the fire spiritual herb hidden behind a giant python. This cold spiritual herb was also the last herb that Li Zongjiu was looking for. With this fire spiritual herb, Li Zongjiu could refine a grade 1 pill, the fire elemental pill. When the giant python saw Li Zongjiu and the Steel Claw Black Wolf rushing over, it opened its eyes wide and glared in front of it. Hiss! As it breathed, a strong fire elemental energy burst out and formed a wave of air that swept towards Li Zongjiu. Grade 7 Yuan practitioner? When Li Zongjiu sensed it, he smiled in disdain. You're merely a 7th tier Yuan cultivator soul beast. So what if I snatch one of your spiritual herbs? The airwaves created by this giant python seemed to have formed a storm, trying to swallow Li Zongjiu whole. Immediately, Li Zongjiu patted his black wolf and soared into the air, instantly arriving above the giant python's head. Blood palm! Boom! The familiar blood dragon soul power once again surged out with this palm strike. The blood fiend palm was considered the pinnacle of tier 1 origin skills. Now Li Zongjiu could also use it and unleash great power. When the power of the blood dragon soul was injected into it, the power of the blood fiend palm instantly increased tenfold. A palm landed on the python's body. The terrifying baleful blood palm instantly tore the giant python apart. Boom! The giant python's head was instantly torn apart. Li Zongjiu grabbed the giant python's gallbladder and threw it to the black wolf. It swallowed the gallbladder in one gulp. This was a 7th tier Yuan cultivator soul beast. But it couldn't even withstand one attack from Li Zongjiu. The giant python's blood splattered all over Li Zongjiu's body. He wiped the blood off his face and then plucked the fire spiritual herb. There are actually 3 of them. Then the collection over the past few days should be enough for me to make 3. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. After the black wolf finished eating the gallbladder, it began to search for other parts of the giant python's body that could be eaten. Ever since it was subdued by Li Zongjiu yesterday, it had been full. He had been eating until he was full, and his originally slightly shriveled stomach was now bulging. It had always been wandering around the edges to hunt for food. Today, it finally ate the meat of a origin beast from the depths of the forest. It was indeed delicious. Let's go. Li Zongjiu led the black wolf into the depths of the forest. Relying on his rich experience, Li Zongjiu also chose a cave on a cliff as a temporary resting place. Even the current Li Zongjiu would encounter danger if he moved around here at night. It was better to be safe than sorry. Just after Li Zhongjiu and the black wolf left, the smell of blood in this bloody place spread out. Boom! A figure fell from the sky, causing the ground to tremble twice. Jinzhu carried a 1.5-meter-long wolf fang iron club on her shoulder. Looking at the exploded corpse of the blood python in front of her, there were still many traces left on the ground. It was obvious that it had just left. Killed with one palm? Jinzhu looked around. There were not many traces of the giant python's struggle. It had already been killed at the place where she left. Such a domineering power. She picked up a piece of snake meat from the ground. Mixed with the burnt smell, she put it in her mouth and chewed. Eating raw snake meat. The palm energy is like a knife, the cut is clean. 30% done, a 6th grade Yuan realm expert? Through the texture of the meat, Jinzhu was able to estimate the strength of the person who had attacked. The moment the attack was launched, the snake man was torn apart. The friction between the force and the snake meat caused the snake meat to instantly heat up and cook it. If someone could split the giant python apart with one palm and cook the snake meat, that person would at least have reached the realm of Yuan realm. Perhaps only an elder would be able to deal with an expert of that realm. However, it was only 30% done, at most a 6th grade Yuan realm expert. However, this palm technique was a little strange. To be able to kill a 7th grade Yuan realm giant python in one move, there must be something fishy about it. Wolf dung? Jinzhu also noticed that there was a pile of wolf dung in the surroundings. She immediately went up and poked it with her finger, then put it in her mouth and tasted it. It's still hot. It just left not far. Jinzhu's eyes immediately brightened. She straightened her body and charged towards the front. If Li Zhongjiu knew that there was such a person chasing after him, he would probably be speechless. Li Zhongjiu naturally didn't know about Jinzhu's existence. Instead, he was looking at the small cauldron formed by the energy in his palm. The few spiritual herbs were constantly burning. If this evil lord's cultivation was still here, I wouldn't have to be so careful. Li Zhongjiu couldn't help but sigh. This process was indeed quite painful for Li Zhongjiu. He was already an alchemy saint, but he could only use such a basic method to refine pills. As the energy was continuously poured in, the energy in the cauldron was also constantly condensing. The herbs were burned bit by bit. The medicinal liquids fused together, and 3 crystal-clear medicinal pills gradually appeared in his hand. The cauldron dissipated, and a medicinal fragrance filled the air. The black wolf, which had been lying on the ground, suddenly raised its head. Its blue eyes stared intently at the pills in Li Zhongjiu's hand. The pills were gradually solidifying. 3 small fiery red pills appeared in Li Zhongjiu's hand. Following the formation of this medicinal pill, the unique spiritual aura and fluctuation of a medicinal pill began to spread. Just a medicinal pill like this in one's hand was enough to cause a Yuanshi level Yuan beast to go crazy. It's done. Fire spirit pill. However, just as Li Zhongjiu was pleasantly surprised, the black wolf guarding the cave entrance suddenly howled. "Oh!" A black shadow flew towards Li Zhongjiu. Bang! It violently smashed into the cave wall. A burly figure blocked the cave entrance, and his hand seemed to be still waving the mace. "You really made me look for you." Chapter 6. Li Zhongjiu finally saw the face of the person. At first he thought it was a man, but when he heard the voice he thought it was a transvestite. Now he saw it clearly. It was a female Tyrannosaurus. As a woman, how could she look like this? Even though Li Zhongjiu was used to seeing strange things, it was the first time he saw someone like Jinzhu. That's right, it was discrimination. As the dignified evil lord, what's wrong with discriminating against a person? Where did this monster come from? Li Zhongjiu raised his eyebrows and asked indifferently. "Go to hell." Jinzhu didn't talk nonsense. Since she had already found Li Zhongjiu, what was there to wait for? Let's just kill him first. She immediately swung the mace in her hand. The width of the cave was not enough for Jinzhu to swing the mace. However, Jinzhu directly smashed a few holes in the cave with her brute force, and suddenly there was a violent shake. It really is a female Tyrannosaurus. Li Zhongjiu sneered, and in the next moment he pointed his foot. A baleful blood palm was displayed. There was no need for any extra movements. The baleful blood palm whistled, and under this palm, the blood dragon soul faintly appeared. Boom! What? Jinju also felt Li Zongjiu's move head-on. She finally knew why the previous giant python was killed in one move. Before Li Zongjiu's baleful blood palm, even if the blood dragon soul released less than 1/1,000,000th of its power, it was enough to intimidate Jinju. Immediately, Jinju blocked in front of her with the mace in her hand. Boom! Jinju's body flew out in an instant and rolled down the mountainside. Li Zongjiu retracted his palm and looked at the bloody hole in his palm. This mace was a powerful thing. Damn, it's so hard. Li Zongjiu frowned and immediately rushed towards Jinju, who was rolling down the hill. The golden bead was struck by Li Zongjiu's palm. If not for the fact that it was prepared beforehand and went all out from the start, it would have been completely shattered by the palm strike just now. After rolling dozens of times, Jinju climbed up from the ground. While her head was still a little dizzy, she saw a shadow rushing towards her. She lifted her leg and kicked at the shadow's face. Bang! Jinju was once again sent flying. This time the kick landed on the bridge of her nose. Excruciating pain assaulted him. Jinju's mouth was also bleeding. Li Zongjiu looked at the mace on the ground. After withstanding his palm strike just now, there was no damage at all. It seemed that the material was not ordinary. This stick is not bad. I don't know if you can handle it. Li Zongjiu smiled evilly. Only then did Jinju recover. When she saw her mace in Li Zongjiu's hand, her heart thumped. You're just a 6th grade Yuan cultivator. I'd like to see how you can wield my mace. Jinju let out a low shout. Suddenly, a strange roar came out from her body, as if she was an angry wild boar. Skyhammer fist. Jinju's body was indeed strong. After being continuously injured by Li Zongjiu, she could still maintain her fighting strength. She stared fiercely at Li Zongjiu and suddenly rushed forward. She stretched out her hands. Bang! There was a violent vibration in the air. Everyone could faintly feel the strength of this attack. Li Zongjiu kicked the mace in his hand and waved it. Lie down. The mace seemed to be mixed with a great force. At this moment, Li Zongjiu felt as if another force had been injected into his body. Roar! The roar of a dragon could be heard from Li Zongjiu's body as golden light shone from his arms. At this moment, the heavy mace in Li Zongjiu's hands felt as light as a wooden stick. What? Jinju's eyes seemed to see the shadow of a golden dragon emerging from Li Zongjiu's body and coiling around his body. Could this be Li Zongjiu's original soul? However, only when one reached the Panyuan realm and became a Yuan ancestor could one obtain the assistance of an original soul in battle. The current Li Zongjiu was merely a Yuan practitioner at initial origin stage, so how could he possibly grasp such power? Initial Yuan realm, awakening Yuan realm, nascent Yuan realm and Panyuan realm. Every realm had a different title. No matter if it was Li Zongjiu or Jinju, they were both elemental realm Yuan practitioners. How could they have an original soul? Could it be that Li Zongjiu was a natural original soul? Thinking of this, a hint of shock flashed across Jinju's eyes. However, it was too late. Li Zongjiu's mace was smashing towards Jinju's head. Bang! Jinju's head was smashed by the mace even though he had condensed the palm technique in his hand. It was as if a watermelon had been smashed on the ground. White brain matter mixed with blood splattered everywhere. What's going on? Li Zongjiu was very surprised by the changes in his body. When he needed killing intent, the blood dragon soul would appear and increase his killing intent. When he needed power, the golden dragon soul would appear again. These dragon souls seem to have become my natural original souls? Original souls were things that Yuan Qi cultivators could refine after reaching a certain realm to strengthen their own strength. Not only would their Yuan Qi be more abundant, but they would also have some more abilities that only Yuan beasts could use. It was a very powerful cultivation and fighting method. Some ancient families were said to have natural original souls. Those who started cultivating their original souls from the initial Yuan realm were naturally very powerful. However, most people would only be able to kill Yuan beasts after reaching the Panyuan realm and refine them into their own original souls. From there, they would be able to control the power of this original soul. From this, it could be seen that a natural original soul cultivator was very powerful. But even if it's just one innate primordial spirit, it's 1 in a million. Twin primordial spirits are even rarer. In my previous life, I swallowed the Prime Soul Fusion pill. Could it be that these 4 dragon souls became my natural original souls? Then wouldn't Li Zongjiu have 4 natural primordial spirits? At this moment, even Li Zongjiu was a little confused. What kind of situation was this? In his previous life, Li Zongjiu had also cultivated to the Panyuan realm. With great luck he had hunted an evil-winged desolate flame tiger. That was how he had a strong foundation later on. But now the 4 supreme dragon souls had become his natural original souls. Was this considered cheating? Li Zongjiu couldn't calm down for a long time. However, although this power would appear from time to time, Li Zongjiu still needed to have sufficient ability to control it. It seemed that only by breaking through to the Yuan Master Realm could he control the dragon souls in his body and achieve the effect of cultivating the dragon souls. Let's see who sent this guy first. Li Zongjiu wanted to check the identity of this T-Rex, but when he lowered his head, he saw that his head had been smashed by him. How was he going to identify it? The black wolf recovered and also jumped down from the cave. It rushed to the front of this female T-Rex and bit off a piece of meat from her body. You really have a heavy taste. You even ate this. But even if you use your toes, you can guess who sent it. You really have guts. Chapter 7. Originally, Li Zongjiu wanted to extract Jinju's blood and refine it into blood beads. Using it to replenish his qi and blood, he could use it to refine pills. However, in such a short period of time, Jinju's corpse had already been gnawed into a mess by the black wolf. Not a single trace of it could be seen. Such a pitiful scene made Li Zongjiu unable to do it. Although the cave had been greatly damaged, it was still barely able to squeeze in. He held 3 fire spirit pills in his hand. Li Zongjiu sat cross-legged in this empty space. The golden dragon soul and the blood dragon soul have both appeared. What can the other 2 dragon souls bring me? Even in his previous life, Li Zongjiu had never received such treatment. Now that he had gained control of his power, Li Zongjiu was not afraid of these hidden powers. Instead, he was looking forward to seeing how powerful they could be. The black wolf continued to guard the cave entrance. Li Zongjiu opened his mouth and swallowed the 3 fire spirit pills. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu was a powerful alchemy saint. In terms of alchemy, he had already reached the pinnacle. Otherwise, he would not have been able to refine such heaven-defying pills. Even the most ordinary fire spirit pill was far more effective than any other pill on the market. Because Li Zongjiu's attribute leaned towards fire, the pills he refined also contained a strong fire attribute. The pills entered his mouth. It was as if they were burning. It was as if 3 scalding stones were slowly falling from his throat into his stomach. Come! The heaven illusionary godly record was activated in his body. The yuan energy of the fire spirit pill was quickly absorbed by Li Zongjiu and entered into his 7 meridians and 8 meridians. Boom! The black wolf could not help but raise its head. It saw that behind Li Zongjiu, a faint white dragon had appeared. It was so frightened that it immediately fell to the ground. How many dragons does this human have? Why did another white dragon's shadow appear? This made the black wolf feel extremely pressured. Li Zongjiu originally thought that he would need 2 or 3 days to refine these 3 pills. After all, the effects of these pills were very strong. If he did not spend more time, he would not be able to absorb them and would gradually waste them. In addition to Li Zongjiu's current body, the absorption power of his body was indeed very poor. According to his previous calculations, the 3 fire spiritual pills would at most help Li Zongjiu to break through to the 5th stage of the elemental level. Every time a yuan cultivator made a breakthrough, they would need a huge amount of energy. The first destruction heavenly flame gold rat that Li Zongjiu had found was already equivalent to a tier 2 spiritual medicine. However, it only helped Li Zongjiu to break through from the 3rd stage to the 4th stage. Therefore, it was already very good that these 3 fire spiritual pills were able to help Li Zongjiu to break through to the 5th stage. However, during the refining process, Li Zongjiu only felt that his body seemed to have undergone a strange change. There was a kind of relaxation of his pores and his whole body felt comfortable. During the process of absorption, his meridians directly expanded to 10 times their original size. Therefore, Li Zongjiu only used a short 6 hours to refine these 3 pills. He had already finished refining all of them. When Li Zongjiu opened his eyes, There seemed to be a white dragon hovering in his eyes. However, this white dragon's figure disappeared in the blink of an eye and entered Li Zhongjiu's body. Why am I refining the pills so fast? Li Zhongjiu did not feel the existence of any other power. However, the black wolf looked at Li Zhongjiu with an extremely respectful gaze. At this moment the black wolf was shocked. What kind of power was hidden in this human's body? Even the dragon soul was protecting him. My cultivation has actually reached the peak of the 6th stage of the Yuan realm. Li Zhongjiu was shocked. This kind of shock was even greater than when he broke through to the Supreme Being realm. After all, it was natural for him to break through to the Supreme Being realm. Therefore, he was not too surprised. However, this time Li Zhongjiu only estimated that he could reach the peak of the 5th stage of the Yuan realm. It was already very perfect for him to absorb the pills. Now, he had absorbed 200% of the pills. The appearance of such an effect indeed made Li Zhongjiu extremely shocked. As a master alchemist, he naturally had a good idea of his own medicinal pills. At this moment it had far exceeded his expectations. Could it be because my soul power has become stronger? Since I'm on my way back, I can hunt some primordial beasts and obtain blood pearls. The method of condensing blood pearls was also a unique skill that Li Zhongjiu had comprehended from the heavenly void god's record. After these blood pearls were refined, they could be used as supplementary medicine to replenish qi and blood. They could also be used to treat injuries. However, this method was seen by others as swallowing human blood, and was an extremely evil method. After Li Zhongjiu refined thousands of people from a sect that had offended him into blood pearls, the title of Evil Lord was naturally given to him. Li Zhongjiu was rushing back to Longherb Peak. At this moment it had been 3 days since the Elixir sect's secret scroll was stolen from Longherb Peak. During this period of time, the Peak Master of Longherb Peak was also in a state of seclusion. Everything was also managed by Elder Lu Shun. At the Elders' meeting, Great Elder, the Li family of Wuxia City seems to have some opinions about Li Shang's matter. How should we deal with this matter? A deacon who was outside returned to the sect and reported the situation truthfully. There were deacons stationed in the cities within a 1,000-mile radius of Fog Elixir sect to handle all kinds of matters. However, this time, Li Shang's theft of the Elixir sect's secret scroll was really strange. Li Shang's father, Li Changjiang, was in the Li family and had a certain amount of power. Therefore, he forced the deacon stationed in Wuxia City to give an explanation. How dare a mere Li family ask for an explanation from my Longherb Peak? Lu Shun was instantly enraged. The surrounding elders were also shocked. They did not know why the great elder was so agitated. However, Lu Shun quickly realized that he had lost his composure. Although his aura calmed down, the raging anger in his eyes did not disappear. Li Changjiang was obviously forcing him. However, it was obvious that Li Shang was useless. I will personally deal with this matter. We will discuss it later. Great Elder, the peak test is in a month's time. The Peak Master is currently in seclusion, and there is no news about him. Should we inform? It was strange. Half a year ago, the Peak Master suddenly announced that he was going into seclusion. Everyone thought that the Peak Master was going into seclusion to make a breakthrough. However, half a year had passed in the blink of an eye and there was no news about him. The Peak Master is still in seclusion. He must be at a critical point in his cultivation. If we disturb him now, wouldn't all his previous efforts be wasted? Let's wait for another half a month. If there is nothing else, the meeting is adjourned. Lu Shun said. The Longherb Peak had a total of 10 elders and around 30 deacons. A meeting would be held at the beginning of every month. If there was an emergency, they would also be summoned. Since Lu Shun, as the first elder, had already said that the meeting was adjourned, the remaining people also cupped their hands and left one after another. There were still many things that they had to deal with. Keeping a sex mountain running was not a simple matter. Lu Shun watched everyone leave. He also stood up and walked towards the back of the mountain. He came to a rockery. Chapter 8. Lu Shun slapped the rock 3 times. Instantly there was a loud rumbling sound. Soon a secret door opened. Lu Shun lit a fire and walked in. Long Medicine Peak was filled with rocks and rocks. There were only a few hundred disciples. and they occupied less than 10% of the peak. There were also many barren lands that were rarely visited. Just as Lu Xun entered, a figure jumped out from behind a rock in the distance. If I'm not mistaken, the original peak master of Longherb Peak is imprisoned here. This figure was Li Zhongjiu. In this life, Li Zhongjiu not only wanted to kill his enemies, he also wanted to bring glory to his family. Even though the Li family was said to be the dominant force in Wuxia city, there were too many forces that could threaten the Li family in the Shengyan dynasty. While he was strengthening himself, he had to help his family grow as well. Li Zhongjiu imitated Lu Shun's technique and slapped the rock a few times. A similar secret door appeared. Relying on his strong soul power, Li Zhongjiu advanced in this pitch-black tunnel. Lu Xun passed through this tunnel that was close to 100 meters long. Before his eyes was a gigantic pit. It was at least 20 meters deep. Within this deep pit, there were countless chains that trapped a figure. This figure looked extremely wretched, with wounds all over his body. His shoulder blades were pierced by the thick chains, and his entire body was suspended in the air. At this moment there was a bottle of spring water above his head that was slowly watering his head, prolonging his life. Looking at this scene, Lu Xun sneered coldly. You don't have much time left. If you don't hand over the formula of the purple gold general heart pill, you will die. The person who was trapped by the chains raised his head slowly, revealing an old face. His face was haggard, but in his eyes there was an unyielding hatred. Lu Xun, if you want to kill me, just do it. Why wait? 1 month later you will naturally kill me. The old man said slowly, as though he had seen through this long ago. Kill you? Of course I won't kill you. You are the peak master of our long medicine peak. The peak test will be in 1 month's time. All the peak masters will be present. Do you think I have no other choice? Saying this, Lu Shun's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. Your granddaughter is already on her way back. She will return to Long Medicine Peak in 7 days at most. If you die, what will happen to your granddaughter? Hearing Lu Xun mention his granddaughter, the old man suddenly became emotional. With a shake of his hand, he immediately shook the surrounding chains, and a series of crackling sounds could be heard. Clatter, clatter, clatter. How dare you? Lu Xun, if you dare touch my granddaughter, I will not let you go. You won't me? With your current state? As he pierced the old man directly, he directly pierced the old man's body. You still have 3 days. If you refuse to speak, then don't blame me for being heartless. Lu Xun said indifferently. The purple gold generalization pill was the old man's lifelong research. Now Lu Xun had set him up and trapped him here for half a year. The reason why he was able to maintain his current life was all because of the spirit spring above his head. Lu Xun wanted to obtain the pill's secret formula from the old man. Alright, I'll tell you. But you must first swear that you will not harm my granddaughter. In fact, the old man had already thought it through. Being trapped here for half a year, he was afraid that he would not be able to get out. Therefore, all he could do now was to protect his only granddaughter's life. It did not matter if he died or not, but he did not want his granddaughter to be affected because of this. Hearing the old man's words, the corners of Lu Shun's mouth curled up slightly. This damn old man, he finally gave in. At this moment, a whistling sound could be heard. Whoosh! Who is it? Lu Xun immediately flung a wave of yuan power behind him. Boom! The elemental energy bombarded the entrance of the cave. Instantly, the cave behind Li Zhongjiu was blasted into smithereens, causing countless rocks to collapse. Li Zhongjiu easily leaped and landed on the ground, looking at Lu Xun in front of him. Elder Lu. Long time no see. Isn't this our peak master? Greetings, peak master. Li Zhongjiu waved at the old man as a greeting. You are a disciple of my peak, quickly leave this place. Seeing Li Zhongjiu appear, the old man hurriedly said. He did not expect that someone would be able to follow Lu Xun here. If this disciple could escape, he would definitely be able to spread the news. At that time, Lu Xun would definitely die. Li Zhongjiu? Lu Xun originally wanted to kill the person in front of him, no matter who he was, but after seeing the face of the person in front of him, he was shocked. This Li Zhongjiu, logically speaking, should have died in the hands of Jin Zhu. Why would he appear here? He was actually followed by Li Zongjiu. How did this guy follow him here? Surprised? Don't worry, you won't live past today. Li Zongjiu sneered and said. His eyes were filled with coldness as he stared at Lu Shun in front of him. To think that a mere elder of a sect would dare to do such a thing as to cover the sky with one hand. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu only found out later that Lu Shun was also part of the people who hunted down this family back then. Lu Shun would never have thought that someone would come from the future. Seems like you know quite a lot, then you can't stay here any longer. Lu Shun sneered. In the next moment, a terrifying ball of yuan power exploded from the center of his palm. Boom! The yuan power instantly twisted and turned into a long blade that slashed towards Li Zongjiu. This was a yuan qi art that only a yuan master could use. Li Zongjiu stood on the spot and took a deep breath. He extended his finger and bit it, causing blood to gush out. Following the infusion of Li Zongjiu's essence energy, this drop of fresh blood instantly started boiling. Li Zongjiu's finger was stained with this drop of boiling blood, and he quickly drew an array pattern on his palm. Blood Frenzy Guide. After the array pattern was formed, he placed his palm on his forehead. In an instant, Li Zongjiu's body seemed to have released an ancient ferocious beast. Roar! A furious roar that came from the depths of his soul exploded. Li Zongjiu's aura of a peak 6th stage Yuan master erupted continuously at this moment, instantly reaching the level of a 1st stage Yuan master. The aura in his body surged, and even a gust of wind whistled, blowing the tens of thousands of kilogram-heavy chains, causing them to flutter loudly. What? Upon seeing this, Li Zongjiu's elemental energy suddenly skyrocketed. His heart was also shaken, but Lu Shun didn't care at all. Putting aside the fact that there was still a gap of 2 whole levels between Yuan Li and Yuan Li, just based on battle experience alone, how could it be so easy to grasp the power of Yuan Li? So what if you temporarily have the strength of a Yuan master? Do you know what a true Yuan master is? If you rashly increase your strength, you'll just be a tiger filled with air. You can't even imagine a battle between Yuan masters. Raging Sea Storm Slash. Another wave of energy formed from Origin Energy erupted from the Origin Energy Saber. The saber was mixed with furious thunder as it slashed toward Li Zongjiu. As for Li Zongjiu, he merely extended 2 fingers in response. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, under the imposing manner of a furious thunderstorm, it easily and accurately caught the descending elemental energy saber. Oh, Li Zongjiu's evil eyes were just inches away. Chapter 9. Looking at Li Zongjiu at such a close distance, Shun Shun was shocked. Lu Shun was shocked by Lin Yun's frightening yet calm gaze. However, Li Zongjiu's next move shocked Lu Shun even more. With a flick of Li Zongjiu's finger, a stream of origin energy shot out from his finger. In an instant, it transformed into a stream of origin energy that struck Lu Shun's vital point. Bang! Lu Shun was instantly sent flying. Even though Lu Shun was a 3rd-grade origin master, he was still sent flying by Li Zongjiu's casual move. Lu Shun spat out a mouthful of blood after landing on the ground. Li Zongjiu's move had disrupted his breathing. Li Zongjiu wasn't in a hurry to continue his attack. Li Zongjiu preferred torturing people rather than tearing them into 2 halves. He had even done some research on poisons. Before becoming the Alchemy Saint, Li Zongjiu's nickname was the Poison Saint. However, after Li Zongjiu broke through to the Supreme Being realm, no one dared to call Li Zongjiu the Poison Saint anymore. Instead, they called him the Alchemy Saint. Of course, these nonsensical nicknames were made up by people who had nothing better to do. Li Zongjiu didn't care. What he cared about was how to torture the enemy in front of him. As a disciple of my peak, how dare you attack an elder? Deceiving your master and killing your ancestors is a heinous crime. If you don't surrender now, you can wait to be annihilated by my long medicine peak. Lu Shun suddenly spoke. He was actually trying to stall for time with a war of words. In Lu Shun's opinion, the reason Li Zongjiu was so powerful was because Li Zongjiu had used some kind of secret technique. Once the secret technique's duration was over, Li Zongjiu would only be slaughtered. You think you can stall for time with such a move? You'd better stand up and see if you can withstand a few more moves. Li Zhongjiu wasn't stupid enough to stop and talk nonsense with him. His figure flashed as he rushed forward and grabbed Lu Shun's throat, waiting to take control of him. However, Lu Shun's feet swayed and his entire body swept to the side. He was avoiding the battle. He was stalling for time. As his figure retreated, he threw a flying knife from his hand. The flying knife was extremely fast, like a bolt of lightning in the darkness. Whoosh! Facing this flying knife, Li Zhongjiu easily reached out his hand as if he was picking up something. He easily caught the flying knife in his hand. Throwing a flying knife in front of me? Li had never seen such a confident person was so confident. He flyings had used this technique used knife used dagger. Used a flying knife dagger. Whoosh! When Li Zhongjiu caught the flying knife, his wrist also shook. Suddenly, the flying knife was thrown back with the same force that Lu Shun had released before without any damage. Boom! The flying knife whistled, and the light emitted by the flying knife was even stronger. When it flew, it felt like it was moving in a distorted state. It was difficult to see the flying knife's trajectory. If one couldn't judge the flying knife's trajectory, it was equivalent to not being able to dodge the knife. What? Could this be the legendary knife tremor technique? Lu Shun was shocked. Under Li Zhongjiu's knife he could see the blade, but there was no way to dodge it. Not good. Lu Shun was immersed in his observation and actually forgot about the time. The flying knife was already very close. Just when Lu Shun was still observing the flying knife, he already felt a sharp pain in his foot. Poof! The flying knife was directly inserted into Lu Shun's foot. The tip of the knife pierced into the bone, and suddenly a sharp pain came. What's going on? The knife was still flying in front of him. How could his foot be injured? In the next second, Lu Shun understood. Just now, Li Zhongjiu's knife, at the last moment, the knife could actually accelerate, and it suddenly broke away from the knife light and stabbed his leg. What kind of operation was this? Lu Shun completely didn't understand how the knife was done just now. The knife light rushed in front of him and directly collapsed. It had no power to speak of. It was just a trick. This level of flying knife realm was not something Lu Shun could compare with. He had encountered an expert. But if this knife was thrown by an old man in his 50s or 60s, it didn't matter. He was very clear about Li Zhongjiu's identity. He was only 16 years old. As for his cultivation, it was even more terrible. He was able to enter Longherb Peak through the back door. In addition, Li Shang would usually use some drugs on Li Zhongjiu to block his progress. At the same time, it was also slowly eroding Li Zhongjiu's talent. Li Zhongjiu's cultivation progress. They hadn't seen each other for only 3 days. Since the night of the chase, there had been such a big change. Even now, Lu Shun had thought it through. The ruthless expert that Li Shang and the others encountered that day was most likely Li Zhongjiu in front of him. With the strength that Li Zhongjiu had displayed at this moment, it was enough to do all of this. Even he, Lu Shun, was not Li Zhongjiu's opponent. If it was Li Shang, he would be easily defeated. He probably wouldn't even have the chance to call for help. Who are you? I have no grievances with you. Why do you want to attack me? Lu Shun pulled out the flying knife on his leg. He found that his leg couldn't move at all. It was impossible to avoid the fight. No grievances with you? Can't I kill you even if I have no grievances with you? Li Zhongjiu said with a smile. You should recognize this thing. As he spoke, Li Zhongjiu took out an animal skin bag from his waist and threw the thing in the bag to Lu Shun. When Lu Shun saw the thing in the bag, he couldn't help but feel nauseous. Lying in front of Lu Shun was an eyeball, although it was completely dug out. However, Lu Shun was able to recognize whose eyeball it was at a glance. Jinju. The person who was sent to assassinate Li Zhongjiu was killed by Li Zhongjiu. I don't know this person. What does her assassination have to do with me? Lu Shun still wanted to quibble. Li Zhongjiu smiled disdainfully. You're an adult. Why are you pretending? When did I say that she was here to assassinate me? Hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, Lu Shun suddenly realized that he had spilled the beans. But Lu Shun couldn't care so much at this time. He directly spread his legs, enduring the pain, and rushed outside. Want to leave? Only if you have wings. Li Zhongjiu sneered. Instantly, he exerted force on his feet and rushed forward. Boom! Lu Shun felt as though there was a giant winged beast charging towards him from behind. This aura directly engulfed him. Good perineum palm. Chapter 10. Of course, Lu Shun knew that he couldn't escape. Hence, he used such a method to lure Li Zongjiu into attacking. Now that Li Zongjiu had the upper hand, Lu Shun would follow up with a victorious attack. Hence, Lu Shun had long prepared this move to wait for Li Zongjiu. Blood-extinguishing palm. Li Zongjiu flipped his palm and the aura within his body suddenly surged. Boom! Blood-extinguishing palm was the upgraded version of blood-extinguishing palm. Among the grade 2 Yuan skills, it could be considered a sin. When this palm was thrown out, it seemed as if a monstrous sea of blood was constantly churning. In this sea of blood, a blood-colored dragon soul was faintly discernible. What? This aura was far above Lu Shun's. In front of Li Zongjiu's blood-extinguishing palm, Lu Shun's perishing palm was like a small wave crashing into a monstrous wave. The two were completely different. The two palms collided. A dragon soul blood-extinguishing palm swept out. It directly rushed into Lu Shun's chest. Boom! Li Zongjiu's move not only destroyed Lu Shun's palm technique, it also turned Lu Shun into a cripple. Puff! Lu Shun spat out a mouthful of blood, which was mixed with his shattered internal organs. With a plop, he fell to the ground. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's aura also gradually fell back. The effect of the Yuan array gradually dissipated. Lu Shun knelt on the ground and raised his head to look at the young man in front of him. On this young man, there was no trace of his previous submissive personality. There was only a kind of arrogance, as if he was looking at the heavens with disdain. What exactly happened to Li Zongjiu's body? What caused Li Zongjiu to have such a huge change? Most importantly, how did Li Zongjiu obtain his strength? Grade 6 Yuan realm able to suck human blood. Li Zongjiu twisted his neck and moved his body, slowly walking towards Lu Shun. At this moment, Lu Shun was kneeling on the ground, unable to move. When he looked at Li Zongjiu, he knew that Li Zongjiu would come to torture him, but there was nothing he could do. Don't worry, it won't hurt for long. Li Zongjiu placed his palm on Lu Shun's head. As Lu Shun circulated his elemental energy, countless blood vessels appeared on his face and crawled up his face. This was because the blood in his body was constantly surging upwards. What kind of feeling was this? Lu Shun raised his head involuntarily. His eyes were filled with fear. Li Zongjiu raised both of his hands involuntarily. At this moment, the blood continuously flowed into Li Zongjiu's palms and condensed into a blood bead in front of his palms. It kept spinning and expanding. Hiss! Lu Shun's body trembled slightly. Throughout the entire process, the old man, who was still bound by the chains, widened his eyes as he watched the scene unfold before him. He had originally thought that there was no hope, but when he saw Li Zongjiu appear, his heart sank. He saw a glimmer of hope, but now, seeing Li Zongjiu's actions, the old man began to worry in his heart. This guy wouldn't run up to his head and do the same thing, right? If that was the case, then he might as well die. This way of dying was too fucking terrifying. Just looking at it made one's scalp numb. Plop! Lu Shun's body fell down. Lu Shun's eyelids were rolled up. The essence blood in his body had been sucked dry. Lying on the ground, he hadn't completely stopped breathing. At this moment, his head still had the last bit of consciousness. Pain. Extreme pain. Where did such a strange kid come from? When the old man saw Li Zongjiu, he felt his heart clench. Li Zongjiu raised his hand. The blood bead in his hand was particularly bright. A first-grade blood bead was finally refined from the essence blood of a Yuan Sure realm expert. Its effect was equivalent to a first-grade elixir, but in some aspects it was much better than a first-grade elixir. Why wait for something like revenge? Even if the hatred between them hadn't been born yet, it didn't prevent Li Zongjiu from killing him first. What's more, Lu Shun had been plotting for a long time. It was understandable that he was killed by Li Zongjiu. It's finally settled. The matter of Long Herb Peak is now the matter of Wuxia City. Li Zongjiu calculated in his heart. This period should be the most difficult time for his father. There were 4 great families in Wuxia City. Although the Li family was now at the top, there was a traitor running around. This Li Changjiang worked from the inside and finally made the Li family a mess. Although Li Changjiang had won the position of the head of the family, in fact, he didn't have many good days. Soon the family was swallowed up by another big force. He made a wedding dress for others in vain. In this life, Li Zhongjiu wouldn't let such an idiot destroy the Li family. He stepped on Lu Shun's head and stomped it into the ground. Li Zhongjiu was about to turn around and leave. Suddenly, he heard the sound of a chain shaking behind him. "Hey boy, are you not going to let me go or leak the news that I'm here?" The old man was afraid of Li Zhongjiu. If Li Zhongjiu left, how long would it take for the people of Longhe Peak to find this place? Therefore, he couldn't help but ask. Li Zhongjiu stopped. "I almost forgot that there's a person hanging here. Are you the peak master of Longhe Peak?" Li Zhongjiu asked. Half of his purpose of coming here was to kill Lu Shun, and the other half was to find this old man. He didn't hear any news about this old man in his previous life. He was most likely killed by Lu Shun. If not for Li Zhongjiu's appearance, this old man wouldn't have any more scenes to play. Li Zhongjiu didn't even know this old man's name. After all, Li Zhongjiu had only joined this sect for half a year. It's me. How about this? Since you're also a disciple of Longhe Peak, let me go, and I'll give you the position of an elder. You can freely enter and leave the treasure vault of Longhe Peak. What do you think? Cut the crap. You want to tie me to Longhe Peak just because I'm powerful? How could Li Zhongjiu not see through this old man's cunning plot? In terms of age, Li Zhongjiu had cultivated for 3,000 years in his previous life. What kind of situation had he not seen before? How could he be deceived by this old man? You want me to let you go? Sure, but on one condition. Li Zhongjiu raised a finger and said indifferently, "Tell me. As long as I can do it, I'll do it." The old man was excited. Li Zhongjiu was powerful and smart. He was worried that Li Zhongjiu wouldn't care about his life. As long as there was a condition, anything was negotiable. Become my slave and I'll let you go. Chapter 11. These two words were so dazzling that Lin Song could not even open his eyes. Where did this brat get his confidence from? He actually wants to enslave me, the peak master of Longhe Peak. Don't be too confident. Young man, let's talk things over. I, Lin Song, am a man of my word. As long as it's a reasonable request, I promise you that I'll fulfill it. It's meaningless for you to act tough like this. Lin Song said indifferently. Until now, Lin Song had still regarded himself as the peak master of Longhe Peak. He had never lowered his head in front of Li Zhongjiu. If you don't agree, then forget it. You can just hang on these chains. Oh right, your granddaughter's name is Lin Yao, right? Do you really think that Lu Shun can let Lin Yao live for a month? Li Zhongjiu said casually, but Lin Song's eyes widened in anger when he heard this. At this moment the chains shook violently. A gust of wind blew. Even though the chains had pierced through his shoulder blades, it was difficult to conceal Lin Song's vigorous yuan power. If Lin Song's guess was right, Lu Shun not only wanted to obtain the cultivation method of the purplish gold general mental elixir, but also wanted to devour Lin Song's yuan power. Therefore, he had been keeping Lin Song alive until now. He seemed to have gone through an extremely painful struggle. In the end, Lin Song lowered his noble head. All right, I agree to your conditions. However, if you want me to do something that goes against the heavens, I'd rather die than obey. Lin Song took a deep breath and said. At this moment Lin Song closed his eyes. It did not matter if he died, but nothing could happen to his granddaughter. It was because of Lin Yao that he was able to hold on for so long. Carve a brand on my soul, Lin Song said in a deep voice. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the sound of chains breaking could be heard. Bang! 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 The chains behind Lin Song exploded. Lin Song's reaction was extremely fast. When the chains broke, he immediately felt the energy rushing back into his body. I'm finally free. Boom! A terrifying aura spread out. At this moment, Li Zhongjiu could also feel Lin Song's aura. He was already a 9th grade yuan master. With such strength, how could he still be plotted against? The other party must have something on him. However, an 8th grade Yuan master was still passable. The surrounding chains flew and exploded. Then Lin Song's figure flashed and flew in front of Li Zhongjiu. You actually didn't leave a mark on my soul? Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word and kill you? Lin Song said. Li Zhongjiu released him directly. Now he had lost his chance. Even if Lin Song wanted to kill Li Zhongjiu now, it would be as easy as raising his hand. After all, Li Zhongjiu had just fought a huge battle and had consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, his strength was only at the 6th stage of the Yuan realm. His cultivation was considered above average among his peers, but in front of Lin Song, it was not worth mentioning at all. Hey, you want to kill me with your old bones? You think too highly of yourself. I'll give you an hour to prepare. I'm going down the mountain to Wuxia City. After Li Zhongjiu finished speaking, he turned around and left. When Lin Song saw Li Zhongjiu's departing figure, he was extremely shocked in his heart. Since when did such a powerful disciple appear in his sect? Even if he searched the entire Snowfog Pill sect, he might not be able to find such a person. Although he was surprised, Lin Song was a man of his word. Since Li Zhongjiu released him, he had to keep his promise. However, Li Zhongjiu did not leave a soul mark on Lin Song's body. It could be considered as one less restriction. This made Lin Song admire Li Zhongjiu even more. Ordinary people did not have such courage. After being locked up for half a year, Lin Song felt like he could finally see the light of day again. Although he did not need to make any preparations, he still needed to take care of his body. Li Zhongjiu, on the other hand, found a place. On the spot, he refined the blood beads from Lu Shun's body. It replenished his previous consumption and at the same time, allowed his Yuan Li to improve by quite a bit. However, there was still a long way to go before he could break through to the 7th level of the origin realm. The cultivation of Yuan Li was not that simple. It usually required a long time of accumulation. I didn't expect my physique to be so bad. When I return, I'll have to properly polish my body. Li Zhongjiu thought in his heart. In addition, this body of his had been secretly poisoned by Li Shang all along. This kind of slow-acting poison would not be fatal immediately. However, it would slow down Li Zhongjiu's cultivation in the long run. Even his talent for cultivation would gradually disappear, making his physique even more unsuitable for cultivation. An hour later, Lin Song, whose face was once again glowing, swiftly walked over from afar. Evidently, this new life had brought him great hope. Li Zhongjiu had also just exited from his cultivation state. Let's go. Our long herb peak should have riding cranes. Riding cranes. They were specially cultivated by some sects and could be used as a means of transportation. They were dozens of times faster than ordinary horses. Only the core disciples and elders of Long Herb Peak can enjoy riding cranes. Lin Song said. Oh, then I'd like to see who can stop me. Li Zhongjiu said in disdain and walked towards the relay station of Long Herb Peak. Li Shang's former henchmen were still in the Long Herb Peak station. Although Li Shang was dead, Li Changjiang's influence was still there. Even in the Long Herb Peak, there were still many of his men. When they saw Li Zhongjiu, they immediately became excited. Li Shang, who chased after Li Zhongjiu, was killed by Elder Lu Shun for no reason. These people did not know the strangeness of it. But Li Changjiang, who was Li Shang's father, he had already given the order to make Li Zhongjiu pay with his blood. If he found Li Zhongjiu, he would definitely make Li Zhongjiu suffer. Isn't that Li Zhongjiu? He still has the guts to show up. I don't know. Now half of Long Herb Peak is looking for him. However, when some people with bad intentions were about to attack, they saw an old man following behind Li Zhongjiu. The old man's eyes were slightly closed, and he seemed to be dozing off. His footsteps were concealed, but his speed was not slow. When they saw the old man appear, the disciples of Long Herb Peak opened their eyes wide. Isn't this the legendary "Hey, prepare 2 of your fastest riding cranes for me"? Li Zhongjiu ignored the stupid disciples and went straight to the elder in charge of the relay station. He knocked on the table and said. The elder in charge of the relay station was responsible for taking care of the riding cranes. At the same time, he also had the right to distribute them. If an elder wanted to do something private, he only needed to arrange it. However, the elder's attitude must be good. Since when did someone dare to knock on the table and order him directly? Ah! The brush in his hand slammed onto the table. The corners of the elder's eyes curled upwards, and even the corners of his mouth curled up into a cruel smile. His lips twitched uncontrollably. It seemed that no one could do anything in front of him at this moment. However, when the elder raised his head, his expression suddenly became respectful. Peak Master. You came out of seclusion. Chapter 12. Lindsong did not even lift his eyelids as he snorted. Peak Master, if you want to go out, I'll arrange it immediately. There was a reason why the elder was so nervous. One must know that the Peak Master of Longher Peak was usually in seclusion, but his prestige was unquestionable. He was one of the top 5 experts in the Snow Elixir sect. Moreover, on Longher Peak, if he wanted someone to leave, they would have to leave. Soon, the elder found 2 sturdy riding cranes that looked different from the others. Li Zhongzhou directly leaped onto the one in front. Only then did Lindsong waved his hand and let the elder leave. He himself flew onto the crane. Boom! Boom! The 2 giant birds soared into the sky. Take care, Peak Master. The elder bowed and sent him off. Only after Li Zhongzhou and Lindsong left did he dare to straighten his back. That kid, isn't that the kid wanted by the Li family? Why is the Peak Master with that kid? On the crane. Lindsong was also deeply saddened by this. He never imagined that the people from the Long Medicine Peak would become so greedy in just half a year's time. If this continued, Longher Peak would be ridiculed by others sooner or later. Li Zhongzhou closed his eyes to rest. In half a day's time, he would meet his father and mother. Although thousands of years had passed, his parents were still alive. In his previous life, he didn't even have the time to bid farewell to them. In this life, he couldn't let his parents suffer the torment of his previous life. What kind of situation would it be when they meet again? Li Zhongzhou's heart was excited and nervous. Lindsong looked at the back of the young man in front. The young man who had suddenly walked into his line of sight looked so extraordinary. He could feel the aura of this young man, and he could even feel that a bloody storm was brewing on this young man's body. Wuxia City Li Family Alchemy Square. As one of the 4 great families, the Li family was particularly outstanding in the alchemy industry. Among the disciples of the family, the atmosphere of alchemy was extremely prosperous. Most importantly, they were all talented. He was famous in Wuxia City. But today, the expressions on the faces of the Li family disciples were not very good. In the center of the plaza, the 2 of them sat facing each other, maintaining a medicinal cauldron in front of them. One of them was the Li family's #1 alchemy genius, Li Baichao. Li Baichao's strength was widely acknowledged. However, this time, Li Baichao's expression turned solemn. Opposite Li Baichao was a young man in white robes and a jade crown. While this young man was refining medicine, he was even being fed fruits by the maidservant beside him. He was as arrogant as he could be. Is this the #1 alchemy genius of Li clan in Wuxia City? If you keep using this refining method, your furnace will explode in 3 minutes. The white-robed youth mocked. Li Baichao became even more nervous after being seen through by the white-robed young man. In less than 3 minutes, a muffled sound was heard, and a strong fluctuation spread out. Li Baichao was instantly blasted away by the energy coming from the pill cauldron, and thick smoke rose from the pill cauldron. Haha, you're really trash. You want to refine medicine with this level of skill? Let me, Chongfeng, show you what real alchemy is. The white-robed young man, Chongfeng, stood up. His hands moved even more violently. A ball of flame condensed in his palms, and he threw it into the pill cauldron in front of him. Suddenly, with a boom, the pill cauldron in front of him emitted a ball of flame that soared into the sky. Inside the flame, a strong pill fragrance was emitted. The pill was formed. Chongfeng circulated his origin energy and took out a pill from the flame. The flame fell, and the entire plaza was silent. Everyone stared at Chongfeng's hands. He actually managed to refine it. A grade 1 elixir pill landed in Chongfeng's hands. It's actually a grade 1 middle grade pill, lightning soul blood recovery pill. How old is he? He can actually refine a grade 1 middle grade pill at such a young age. The difficulty of refining a grade 1 middle grade pill was 10 times more difficult than refining a grade 1 beginner grade pill, or even more. Usually, to reach such a level, one had to be an alchemist who had cultivated for at least a dozen years. Even in the Li family, there were no more than 10 alchemists who could refine a grade 1 middle grade pill, and they were all above the age of 30. It's actually a grade 1 middle grade pill. I lost. Li Baicao's eyes suddenly dimmed, and he looked at the pill in Changfeng's hands. With his standard, if he performed normally, he would only be able to refine a grade 1 beginner grade pill, but now it seemed that even if he performed exceptionally, he would not be able to surpass Changfeng in front of him. Changfeng's talent was at least 10 times his. It turned out that he had always been a frog at the bottom of the well. There were many real geniuses here. At this moment, Changfeng, who was holding the pill in his hand, was like a giant, looking down at the people around him. Changfeng enjoyed the light in their eyes very much. This was a kind of worship of the weak, a kind of gaze filled with reverence. This pill is your reward. Changfeng casually tossed the lightning soul blood recovery pill to the beautiful maidservant beside him. When the maidservant received the pill, she immediately revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. A pill like this would be worth at least 500 gold coins in the market. An ordinary worker could not earn more than 10 gold coins in a month. Thank you, master. The maid said in surprise. It seems that the Li family of Wuxia City is only SOSO. Brother Sunbin, didn't you say that you would let me see the number 1 alchemist family of Wuxia City? Is this it? It's really too disappointing. Brother Changfeng, don't worry. If you stay a little longer, maybe their elders will come out to compete with you, ha ha. Speaking until here, the two of them laughed loudly. In this competition between young people, if the elders were to take action, then the situation would change. No matter what, the one who would lose face would be the Li family. Sun Bin, who was beside Changfeng, was the young master of the Sun family, one of the 4 great families of Wuxia City. This was a provocation in the name of a competition. They wanted to use this to humiliate the Li family. However, the most talented Li Baichao had already lost. Who else could turn the tide? Smack. Suddenly, a pile of white bird poop fell from the sky and landed on Changfeng's head. At such a close distance, he smelled the poop on his head. Changfeng was stunned on the spot. Boom! Before he could get angry, he saw 2 white cranes descending from the sky and landing directly on the square. Chapter 13. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? Cripple this kid and kill those 2 white birds as well. Changfeng was flustered and exasperated. How could he endure such humiliation? If I don't kill these people today, how could I have the face to roam the underworld in the future? It's the young master. Young master? That useless cultivator? Li Zhongjiu's title as the young master had long ceased to exist. This was because even if this guy cultivated in Wuxia alchemy sect, he would still be at the bottom. In order to allow this young master to enter Wuxia alchemy sect, the Li family had spent a lot of money and used many backdoors. However, the results were still very unsatisfactory. Li Zhongjiu? Some elders saw Li Zhongjiu, but their attention was quickly focused on the 2 white cranes. These white cranes were the symbol of Wuxia alchemy sect. Only the people of this sect could travel with white cranes. Who is that old man? His aura seems ordinary, but it makes my heart palpitate. Someone saw Lin Song, who still had his eyes closed. When Changfeng gave the order to tear Li Zhongjiu apart, he saw a figure whizzing over. It was a 9th grade Yuan realm expert. Not good. That person is a 9th grade Yuan realm expert. The young master is in danger. Oh no. This useless cultivator can't escape. Although the young master has embarrassed the family, we can't allow him to die in the hands of an outsider. Many elders and disciples of the family exclaimed. Changfeng sneered. He was waiting to see Li Zhongjiu's neck being broken. How dare you say that my head is a pile of shit? The hairstyle that I have painstakingly styled is ruined by you. Humph. Li Zhongjiu did not move. Lin Song let out a cold snort from behind. Suddenly, a powerful aura blasted the person in front of him away. Bang! The person who attacked was directly sent flying by Lin Song's aura. He was thrown dozens of meters high and landed on the street. What? When everyone saw that this sleepy old man actually sent a 9th grade Yuan realm expert flying with a cold snort, the shock was indescribable. The elders of the Li family all became nervous. This kind of expert's identity was mysterious. They couldn't tell what his intentions were for coming here. You piece of shit, how dare you order people to beat me up? Strip him naked and throw him out. Li Zhongzhou glanced at Chang Feng indifferently. This was simply audacious. How dare you? Chang Feng said angrily. Boom! Lin Song extended his skinny hand and slapped Chang Feng's body across the air. After which, Chang Feng's entire body flew backwards. At the same time, the clothes on his body were instantly torn apart and only his naked body was left. No one would have thought that this insufferably arrogant alchemy genius would be thrown out in such a humiliating manner. Just because you are good at alchemy, I have to compete with you in alchemy? What a joke. When Sun Bin saw that Chang Feng was thrown out by Li Zhongzhou's people, his face instantly became extremely gloomy. Li Zhongzhou, what do you mean? How dare you be so disrespectful to my Sun family's guest? Do you want to be my Sun family's enemy? Sun Bin said coldly. Chang Feng brought a total of 2 people, a guard and a maidservant. The guard was the one who was sent flying just now. You're called Sun Bin, right? Li Zhongzhou looked at Sun Bin in front of him. Memories came to his mind. Although his memory wasn't very clear, this name was somewhat familiar. He didn't know if there was any enmity between him and Sun Bin in his previous life, but Li Zhongzhou didn't care. Now it was time for him to start a feud with Sun Bin. Strip him naked too. Li Zhongzhou grinned and said. Presumptuous. The old elder who followed behind Sun Bin suddenly shouted. Since he dared to attack Sun Bin, it meant that he really didn't put the Sun family in his eyes. He came to challenge them, but he used force to show off. Did he really think that only the Li family had people in Wuxia city? To catch bandits, first catch the leader. The elder directly grabbed at Li Zhongzhou. Just as Lin Song was about to take action, he suddenly stopped. He saw a strong aura rushing towards him from afar. This aura felt as though there was an enraged lion. Presumptuous Sun Qiu, how dare you attack my Li family? This roar was like thunder, and his attack was even more majestic. With a step he leaped more than 10 meters and used the lion heart dig. The Sun family's elder Sun Qiu also acted as if he was facing a great enemy. He didn't care about attacking Li Zhongzhou. Instead, he took the opponent's palm and landed on the ground. He grabbed Sun Bin and directly jumped over the wall of the Li family to escape. Li Tianqing, you will regret this. Li Tianqing landed and came in front of Li Zhongzhou. He angrily flicked his sleeve and looked at Sun Qiu who was running away, and said disdainfully, Bah, you run fast. How dare you behave so atrociously in my territory? The person who came was the Li family's patriarch, Li Zhongzhou's father. Greetings, patriarch. Greetings, patriarch. The surrounding disciples and elders of the Li family bowed. That's enough. Chang Feng is the disciple of Northern Medicine City's Wang Lu. It's normal for you to lose to him. If you lose your fighting spirit because of this, then you don't deserve to be a disciple of the Li family. The enemy is strong, so you can't admit defeat. Li Tianqing shouted. This angry shout was like an enlightenment that immediately woke up these people who were immersed in the shadow of being defeated. Indeed, times have changed. You're awesome now, but it doesn't mean that you'll always be awesome in the future. As long as I work hard, I'll definitely surpass you in the future. Kid, you're good. You're bullying others as soon as you come back. It seems that you've been trained well in Wuxia elixir sect. You've got some brains. Li Tianqing came in front of Li Zhongzhou and patted Li Zhongzhou's shoulder with his bear-like hand. Then his expression changed. Good, you're a 6th grade Yuan realm expert now. The previous information that came back said that this kid was only a 4th grade Yuan realm expert. Now, in the blink of an eye, he jumped to 6th grade Yuan realm. This made Li Tianqing slightly surprised. It's okay. Li Zhongzhou couldn't help but rub his nose. In front of others, Li Zhongzhou was arrogant and temperamental. However, in front of his father, Li Zhongzhou was unusually well behaved. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu reached the peak and his cultivation was heaven-defying. However, he couldn't reverse time and revive his family. This time when he felt his father's hot hand, he felt as if it was a lifetime ago. He must protect everything that was familiar to him. Li Tianqing's gaze quickly moved away from Li Zongjiu and looked at Lin Song, who was beside him. Senior, may I ask what crime my Zongjiu committed outside? As the head of the Li family, Li Tianqing naturally had good eyesight. He could tell that Lin Song's strength was not ordinary. I wouldn't dare. I'm Lin Song. Greetings, family head. Hearing Li Tianqing's words, Lin Song quickly said. He didn't dare to take advantage of Li Zongjiu. Lin Song. Lin Song. Li Tianqing heard this name and felt that it was somewhat familiar. Then he quickly brainstormed. Suddenly, Li Tianqing's expression changed dramatically. This was because the name Lin Song couldn't be more familiar. Your Long-Her Peaks. Peak Master. Although the Li family had always been working with Long-Her Peak to import some elixirs and sell them, the Li family was in charge of providing the herbs and the like. However, the Peak Master of Long-Her Peak never cared about this matter. It was even harder for ordinary people to see him than to ascend to the heavens. Li Tianqing had only heard of Lin Song's name but had never seen him in person. He didn't expect this legendary figure to be standing in front of him. Lin Song nodded. Li Zongjiu hurriedly called out to his father. If he spoke again, Li Tianqing would probably kneel down in front of Lin Song. Dad, I heard that our family has been facing a lot of problems recently. Chapter 14. In Li Tianqing's study room, the father and son sat facing each other, while Lin Song sat on the side. The Sun family has invited a second-grade alchemist, Wang Lu, from northern Medicine City. The one who was thrown out earlier is his disciple. This time he came specifically to provoke us. If it weren't for you intervening, I'm afraid that our Li family would have suffered a loss today. Peak Lord, drink some tea. Li Tianqing said slowly. Previously, although Li Zongjiu's talent was not good, he was not a fool. Moreover, he had read a lot of books on the art of war since he was young. Therefore, sometimes Li Tianqing would also talk to Li Zongjiu about some problems. After all, the future of the family would still be handed over to Li Zongjiu. If he was not good at martial arts, then he needed to be good at writing. However, the reason why he spoke so clearly in front of Li Zongjiu today was mainly because of Lin Song. The arrival of a peak lord of the Fog Snow Alchemy sect made Li Tianqing a little nervous. In this Wuxia city, a peak lord was even more respected than the city lord. Leave these things to me. By the way, father, I have some medicinal herbs here. Help me prepare 10 sets, I need them. After chatting for a while, Li Zongjiu also handed a piece of paper to Li Tianqing. Li Tianqing took a look at it and suddenly frowned. These? Okay, I'll ask someone to prepare them. Li Tianqing's eyesight was naturally able to see that this prescription seemed to be a kind of pill, but he did not know what kind of pill it was. Moreover, the value of some of the medicinal herbs was not low. Where's my mother? Li Zongjiu did not seem to see his mother when he came back. He also missed her. Your mother went to your grandfather's place. Your grandfather's health is not very good recently. Li Zongjiu heard this and nodded. Li Zongjiu's grandfather lived in a small town more than 4,000 miles away from Wuxia City. Although it was not a big force, it was still one of the richest families in this town. It's getting late. I've already prepared a superior room. Peak Lord, why don't you stay in my humble abode for a few days? Thank you, Patriarch Li. Lin Song cupped his hands and said. It was all because of Li Zongjiu. Otherwise, with Li Tianqing's status, he might not even be able to meet Lin Song. Li Zongjiu also returned to his room. He had not been back for a long time, but his room was still neat and tidy. Li Tianqing quickly ordered people to send the prepared medicinal herbs to Li Zongjiu, as well as some cauldrons that Li Zongjiu needed. Dragon Bone Essence Tempering Liquid. A grade 1 medicinal liquid. It's perfect for tempering a newbie's body. Li Zongjiu threw a few medicinal herbs into the cauldron. The Dragon Bone Essence Tempering Liquid was a high-end body tempering liquid that Li Zongjiu had mastered in his previous life. It was definitely the best thing for an elemental practitioner. Now Li Zhongzhou not only needed to strengthen his body, but he also needed to detoxify himself from head to toe. He opened the cauldron to refine medicine. Li Zhongzhou was completely immersed in refining medicine. He did not feel it at all. There was a strong aura lingering around him. Lin Song, who lived not far away, was originally cultivating with his eyes closed. Suddenly, he felt an extremely shocking aura coming from Li Zhongzhou's direction, and immediately opened his eyes. What a strong deterrent. This young man. How many secrets does he have? Even Lin Song himself could not help but be surprised. That night, Li Zhongzhou refined the dragon bone essence tempering liquid. If he could find the real dragon bone, the effect would be thousands of times better. The dragon bone essence tempering liquid that Li Zhongzhou refined was replaced by a grade 2 origin beast, but for the current Li Zhongzhou it was still very effective. In the Li mansion, everyone seemed to be discussing Li Zhongzhou's behavior today. There were even a few elders who jointly reported that they wanted to hand over Li Zhongzhou to appease the anger of the Sun family and Master Wang Lu. However, these people obviously belonged to the faction of Great Elder Li Changjiang. Li Changjiang knew about Li Zhongzhou's matter, but in the end, Li Zhongzhou did not die, but his son Li Zhongzhou died. This also made Li Changjiang understand that Li Zhongzhou must have done something behind the scenes. It was all because of Li Tianqing and the others which led to such a situation. Now Li Zhongzhou brought back a powerful old man from who knows where. What was the meaning of this? Did he want to seize power? However, Li Changjiang was not in a hurry to deal with Li Zhongzhou. This brat had gone to provoke Changfeng and assumed that he was infallible. This would definitely incur the wrath of Grandmaster Wang Lu. Therefore, it was most appropriate for Wang Lu to deal with Li Zhongzhou. Late at night, Sun family. When Sun Bin was captured, he hurriedly rushed to Changfeng's residence. However, it was impossible for Changfeng to meet anyone at this moment. As the accompanying elder, Sun Qiu had seen everything from the beginning to the end and told the Sun family's family head everything. The Sun family's family head was called Sun Zhenglei. His strength had already reached the level of a grade 7 Yuan master. Most importantly, the Yuan formula he cultivated was a grade 3 Yuan formula, the Astral Thunder formula. Therefore, his strength was comparable to that of a grade 8 Yuan master. Even a grade 9 Yuan master would have to restrain himself when facing Sun Zhenglei. At this moment, an old man in a green robe was sitting on Sun Zhenglei's left. The old man shook a pipe in his hand as he listened carefully to the story. You're saying that my disciple crushed the Li family's disciple in alchemy, but was thrown out by the Li family? By force? The old man said slowly. He tapped the pipe in his hand. This person was Master Wang Lu, whom the Sun family had invited all the way from northern Medicine City. Although Wang Lu's Yuan Qi cultivation was not as good as Sun Zhenglei's, Sun Zhenglei could only listen when Wang Lu spoke. There was only one reason for this. Wang Lu was a grade 2 alchemist appointed by the dynasty, and was protected by the dynasty's heavenly elixir pavilion. Only an alchemist could defeat another alchemist. A conferred alchemist like Wang Lu was very popular. He was absolutely tyrannical among the Yuan masters. Even a Yuan general would not be unwilling to befriend a grade 2 alchemist. Befriending an alchemist would never be a bad thing. Sun Qiu glanced at Sun Zhenglei, then slowly nodded his head. Yes, haha, by force? My disciple is not someone the small Li family can touch. Since the Li family wants to use force against an old man like me, I can only accompany them. Tomorrow I will refine 10 bottles of tiger bone root restoration powder. This powder has the effect of strengthening the root bones of Yuan masters. Tiger bone root restoration powder. As a cultivator, he was very familiar with this name. It was said to be related to tiger bone root restoration powder. It was a godly medicine for Yuan practitioner level cultivators. If one could cultivate with this tiger bone root breeding powder, not only would it increase one's cultivation speed, it would also give one an even better foundation on top of one's foundation. This kind of tiger bone root restoration powder was generally difficult to obtain. If the Sun family could obtain so many tiger bone root restoration powders, it would be enough to cause a huge impact on the Li family. After all, the long herb peak that the Li family relied on had gradually fallen to the Sun family. Thank you, Master. Don't worry, Master. I, Sun Zhenglei, will definitely consign the Li family to eternal damnation. Chapter 15. After a night of training, when Li Zhongzhou climbed out of the bathtub, he was brimming with energy. The lines of his muscles were also gradually protruding. Although he could not be said to be healthy, he could be considered healthy. There is still some dragon bone essence refining liquid left. After diluting it a little, it should be enough to make 10 bottles. Li Zhongzhou remembered what Li Tianqing said to him yesterday. The Li family made a fortune by selling elixirs. Their ancestors also had alchemists, but they gradually declined. However, the alchemy industry in Wuxia City was definitely a giant. The Sun family controlled the weapon trade, and the Li family's elixirs were also the best. But recently, the Sun family invited a second-grade alchemist, which brought a great impact to them. Although the Li family also had second-grade alchemists, they were far from being Wang Lu's opponent. The quality of some of the herbs sold by the Sun family and the shops were far better than the Li family, which brought a certain impact to the Li family. Even some of the customers were snatched away. "Uncle Gu," Li Zhongzhou shouted outside. He saw a burly man coming in. He could be regarded as Li Zhongzhou's personal bodyguard. After returning to the family, of course, he had to send someone to protect him. After all, the situation in the city was not very peaceful. Li Gui was the captain of the family's bodyguard. He also had 6 members under him. After Li Zhongzhou returned, he was responsible for protecting Li Zhongzhou. "Young master, why did you call me? Who is refining the herbs sold by the family now?" Although it was said that Li Zhongzhou had returned to his family, in reality, nearly 3,000 years had passed. Some of the details could not be clearly remembered. "It's elderly Juyan." Li Gui thought for a moment and said, "Take me to the alchemy room." "Young master, you want to refine pills? Ordinary people can't easily get close to an alchemist." "I'll go take a look," Li Zhongzhou said. As a reincarnated expert, there were a lot of things to worry about. Li Zhongzhou had an awkward expression on his face, but if Li Zhongzhou wanted to enter the alchemy room, then he would be blocked outside. However, if Li Zhongzhou wanted to leave, then who could stop him? "Halt, this is an important place for alchemy. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter." When Li Zhongzhou arrived in front of the alchemy building, he was stopped. This entire building was built on top of a fire seed. Other than the alchemy room, there was also a cultivation room. If one's elemental energy was of the fire attribute, then this was a very good place to cultivate. As an extremely precious resource of the family, naturally, they couldn't just let anyone in. "Are you two looking for a beating?" Li Zhongzhou glanced at the two of them. As the young master of the family, could it be that he couldn't just come and inspect? Originally, it was not allowed. However, when the two disciples saw Li Zhongzhou's gaze, it was as if a high and mighty king was staring at them. Immediately, they were scared speechless. Li Zhongzhou also walked straight in. At this moment, only the alchemy furnace in the center was still open. In order to refine more powerful pills, it was necessary to fight against the chaotic market because of Wang Lu's appearance. A woman in a red dress and a red-haired old man were sitting on both sides of the alchemy furnace. The other disciples of the alchemy hall were also watching from the sides. Li Baichao was sitting in the middle, staring at the fiery scene in front of him. The temperature rising from the alchemy furnace made them feel hot. Even if they didn't move, it was difficult to resist the heat, and sweat kept coming out of their foreheads. "Li Yun, add green bamboo water and purple fire sand." At this moment, the red-haired old man shouted in a low voice. The woman in red sitting opposite him flicked her wrist and took out a bamboo tube from her space bracelet. She poured the water in the bamboo tube into the alchemy furnace in front of her. After pouring the green bamboo water, she took out a plate of purple fire sand from her space bracelet and threw it into the furnace. At this moment, Li Yun could also see that the fire was too fierce and the furnace was about to explode. The most difficult part of alchemy was controlling the fire. Once the fire became violent, it would be extremely terrifying. No one would be able to control it. Even elderly Jiyan would most likely cause the furnace to explode if he forcefully supported it with his thick yuan power. Once the furnace exploded, this pot of good medicinal ingredients would all be destroyed. Therefore, Li Juyan couldn't let the alchemy furnace explode. He had to refine it. At the very least, he had to refine a beginner grade 2 pill. Only then would he be able to refine these precious medicinal ingredients. Boom! However, with the addition of purple fire sand by Li Yan, the fire didn't seem to weaken at all. Instead, it became even more violent. All disciples retreat from the alchemy building, Li Juyan said in a low voice. In order to give himself pressure, Li Juyan had gathered all the disciples to watch. It could be said that he had made sufficient preparations. However, the refinement of this pill was beyond his ability. It was difficult to refine it, and the alchemy furnace might even explode. If these people didn't leave quickly, there might be casualties. Quick, Group 1 and 2 go through the main door. Group 3 and 4 go through the back door. Li Baichao stood up and said, Yan, prepare to leave too. I can't protect this alchemy furnace anymore. Li Juyan said, Father. Li Yan shouted excitedly. Li Juyan had a daughter at an old age. He was already so old, but his daughter was only 20 years old. However, she was a genius in alchemy. In fact, his current level of alchemy had already surpassed the majority of the elders. Don't dawdle. I have Yuan power to protect my body. At most, I'll be severely injured. Quick, I can't control it anymore. Li Juyan shouted. Li Yan was about to let go of her hand when she heard a scream. Li Zongjiu, what are you doing here? Who let you in? Leave quickly. Li Baichao wanted to pull Li Zongjiu away. However, he saw Li Zongjiu rushing towards the alchemy furnace of Elder Juyan and the rest. What is this guy trying to do? Is he here to assassinate the elders? Li Zongjiu, what are you doing? Li Zongjiu shouted. However, Li Zongjiu was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of Li Yan. Don't move your hand. Li Zongjiu slapped Li Yan's hand that was about to leave the alchemy furnace. If Li Yan's strength left the alchemy furnace, then even Li Zongjiu would have to escape. Brat, what are you doing? Are you looking for death? When Li Juyan saw that Li Zongjiu had actually dared to come and cause trouble, he immediately let out a loud roar. The skin on his body was already showing a rough red color. In a few more minutes, he would reach his limit. Coincidentally, I have a few more stalks of burning fire grass here. Li Zongjiu took out a handful of blazing grass from his bosom. He threw it directly into the alchemy furnace. What? Seeing Li Zongjiu's actions and the fiery red burning fire grass, Li Juyan was shocked. Fuck! Are you trying to send me on my way? Li Juyan shouted. Throwing a handful of burning fire grass into the alchemy furnace was equivalent to pouring a pot of fish oil into a hot pot. Chapter 16. At this moment, Li Juyan had already thought of how he was going to die. Li Yan's face also turned pale. She was obviously frightened. Li Zongjiu must be out to harm them. However, the violent explosion that they imagined did not happen. When Li Zongjiu's palm landed on the cauldron, which had been raging violently just a moment ago, actually stabilized. Li Juyan's eyes widened. He was attracted by Li Zongjiu's technique. The burning fire grass that was thrown in earlier had already started burning before it landed. The flames in the cauldron started burning from the bottom to the top. The burning fire grass that Li Zongjiu threw in started burning from the top. This created a form of collision between the flames. Could this be the legendary flame collision technique? Li Juyan was extremely shocked. The flames in the cauldron were suppressed, but Li Zongjiu did not stop. This was because the pill had not been refined yet. 100 ghost grass, nightline flower, moonlight tear. Refine all of them. Li Zongjiu said in a deep voice. These words were directed at Li Yan. When Li Yan heard Li Zongjiu's words, she was stunned for a moment. Then she looked at Li Zongjiu. What are you waiting for? Hurry up. Do you still want to refine pills? Li Zongjiu roared. At this moment, Li Yan did not hesitate. Li Zongjiu's actions were already extraordinary. Since Li Zongjiu had spoken, she would do as he said. Li Yan quickly refined the herbs. With Li Yan's cultivation as a grade 9 Yuan realm expert, she refined the herbs very quickly. After throwing them into the cauldron, Li Zongjiu also recited some steps for Li Yun and Li Jian to cooperate. The cauldron gradually stabilized. Seeing this scene, the two of them felt that it was inconceivable. Li Baichao and the others who were preparing to escape stopped in their tracks. Originally, Li Baichao was prepared to capture Li Zongjiu. However, when he saw that Li Zongjiu was actually commanding Elder Li Yun and Elder Li Jian to refine pills, Li Baichao felt as if his world had been turned upside down. In this Li family, who didn't know that this young master was the worst at alchemy? He couldn't even tell the difference between herbs and poison. But now that he had returned from Long Herb Peak, he was guiding the elders to refine pills like an alchemist, saving a cauldron that was about to explode. Li Zongjiu touched the edge of the furnace. That's enough. Out of the furnace. Li Juyan could not help but frown. Isn't it too early to do it now? This pill has just taken shape and has yet to condense. If it comes out of the furnace, I'm afraid it will be destroyed in an instant. Out! Li Zongjiu did not waste any time and replied with a single word. Li Juyan gritted his teeth. Even though his experience told him that this pill would definitely be destroyed, Li Zongjiu had an aura that could not be rejected. Might as well take a gamble. Out of the furnace. Li Juyan and Li Yun clapped their hands together and sent a surge of energy into the furnace. The lid of the furnace immediately flew out. Just as the pill was about to emerge, Li Zongjiu took the lead and sent a surge of energy into the furnace. Immediately, the pill was brought out of the furnace by flames. Li Zongjiu reached out and grabbed the pill. This was because there was a layer of flame on the outside of the pill. It was released by Li Zongjiu. Hence, the Yuan fire did not cause any harm to Li Zongjiu. Success. Success? Li Juyan and the rest could not believe it. Looking at Li Zongjiu's tightly clenched fist, they were afraid that if Li Zongjiu loosened his grip, there would be a pile of medicinal paste on top of it. Congratulations to all of you. Li Zongjiu opened his palm and a round, bright red pill appeared in his hand. When they saw this pill, everyone felt as if they were dreaming. Li Yun covered her mouth in shock. She could not believe that the pill in front of her was actually refined by her. From the aura of this pill, it was obvious that this pill was a middle grade 2 pill. Middle grade 2. It was only by chance that Elder Li Juyan managed to successfully refine a second grade pill, when the medicinal ingredients were extremely precious. However, ever since then, he had never succeeded again. As for middle grade 1 pills, he was getting more and more familiar with them. This is a middle grade 2 pill, green sun blazing pill. Middle grade 2 pill. Green sun blazing pill. This was one of the few middle grade 2 pill formulas that the Li family possessed. It was the green sun blazing pill. However, the pill in his hand was a little different. Strange, why is this different from the green sun blazing pill that I refined previously? Li Juyan could not help but ask. Of course it's different. This is the green sun purple flame pill. Its effect is 5 times that of the green sun blazing pill. Li Zongjiu said calmly, then threw the pill in his hand to Li Juyan. Seeing Li Zongjiu's actions, Li Juyan was so frightened that he panicked and hurriedly caught the pill. Give me your pill formulas. I'll add in a few more herbs. Otherwise, such a stupid pill refinement is just a pure waste of herbs. Li Zongjiu said. If it wasn't for the fact that Li Zongjiu had just helped to refine this pill and dared to directly say that he wanted to change the pill formula, then he would definitely be hung up and beaten ruthlessly. He had really grown up to be capable. This pill formula is something passed down by the old ancestor. How can you modify it with your little bit of skill? This is a copy of the pill formulas. Li Juyan took out a scroll and spread it out in front of Li Zongjiu. Pill recipes were the most important part of an alchemist's life. The real originals were all treasured and protected. Otherwise, if they were leaked out, wouldn't the Li family lose this important heritage? Li Zongjiu picked up the brush and added a few more herbs. With Li Zongjiu's understanding and comprehension of medicinal pills, improving the pill formula of a mere second-grade medicinal pill was as easy as taking something out of his pocket. Li Juyan looked at the herbs that Li Zongjiu added. They were all ordinary supplementary herbs. Yes, if I add them like this, the power of the 5 elements in the pill furnace can form a perfect fusion. A big cycle of rotation. Why didn't I think of that? Li Juyan slapped his head. Pill refinement was about the 5 elements. It was all for the sake of harmony. Only harmonious coexistence could produce powerful medicinal pills. Of course, there were also some unorthodox pills. It wasn't absolute. First, one had to meet such conditions to be able to complete pill refinement. Third elder, not good. Just as Li Juyan was exclaiming, he heard someone rushing in from outside. What's the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? You don't have any self-restraint. Li Juyan looked and saw that it was the manager of his pill hall. He continued to ask, "What's the matter? Tell me slowly." That Sun Family Medicine Hall appeared. Tiger bone bacon powder. Tiger bone bacon powder. Li Juyan's eyes suddenly widened like copper bells. Chapter 17. Is what you said true? Li Juyan asked loudly. If they did not make sufficient preparations for this matter, the elixir market would probably be overturned in an instant. It's absolutely true. The Sun family took a bottle of elixir to the market today to test it. A disciple of the Sun family directly entered the realm of a stage 5 primordial realm from a stage 4 primordial realm cultivator. Moreover, they posted a notice saying that they want to auction off the remaining 9 bottles of tiger bone bacon powder. The person who came said while gasping for breath, "There are actually 10 bottles of tiger bone bacon powder. This tiger bone bacon powder must have been refined by Wang Lu," Li Juyan said in a deep voice. He originally thought that Wang Lu was only here to slightly support the market. With the Sun family's financial resources, it was impossible for them to invite Wang Lu to oversee the market. Therefore, it was only temporary. As long as they could get through it, they would be fine. Their foundation would not be shaken. However, this time, a total of 10 bottles of tiger bone bacon powder had been refined. This was enough to prove the determination of these people. They were clearly trying to destroy the Li family's elixir market. It's just a mere trash body tempering elixir. What are you panicking for? Li Zhongzhou shouted angrily, bringing everyone out of their nervous state. Even Li Yun looked at Li Zhongzhou in surprise. She did not expect Li Zhongzhou to have such charm. Was this still the snotty person who wore open-crotch pants and followed her around 10 years ago? This is the dragon bone quenching elixir that I refined last night. Even if it is diluted 10 times, the effect is still 10 times that of the tiger bone bacon powder. There is no need to auction it. It can be sold directly on the shelves. What kind of trash is this? How dare you put it up for auction? Spread the news that in 3 days, our Li family's alchemy hall will auction a high-grade stage 2 elixir. Li Zhongzhou said indifferently. However, Li Zhongzhou's words directly shocked the rest of the people. They were even shocked several times. Young master refined it himself? Didn't you not even know how to differentiate between poison and spiritual medicine? How was this dragon bone quenching elixir refined? What else? Auctioning a high-grade second-grade pill? This high second-grade medicinal pill was like a heavy bomb to the entire Wuxia city. It was simply shocking to the heavens. This thick smell, this extremely powerful aura. The effects of this medicinal liquid are incomparably shocking. Li Juyan had been practicing alchemy for more than a decade, so he didn't have any problems judging a mere medicinal liquid. Therefore, when he received the dragon bone origin tempering liquid, he knew that it wasn't simple. Quick, do as the young master says. Li Juyan gave the dragon bone essence tempering liquid to the middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was the person in charge of the Li family's spirit pill hall, and was in charge of selling pills. Since he had dealt with a lot of pills, he naturally had a keen eye. When he saw the dragon bone essence tempering liquid, he knew that his chance had come. Haha, good. With such a treasure in hand, the Sun family is nothing. The spirit pill hall's owner spat, but he quickly looked at Li Juyan. But elder, the matter of the high-grade 2 medicinal pill. Li Juyan glanced at Li Zhongzhou, pondered for a moment and then nodded. Do as the young master says. Even if Li Zhongzhou didn't say so, he would have said so. Since he already knew the Sun family's intentions, continuing to drag it out would only bring a greater crisis to the Li family. He had to defeat them. Yes, in Li Juyan's opinion, this was just a commercial lie. It shouldn't have been set for 3 days but 7 days. It would be best if it was half a month. That would be the best. Occasionally skipping a ticket wasn't a serious matter for a big business. What Li Jian was most concerned about now was the refining method of the dragon bone essence tempering liquid that Li Zongzhou had just mentioned. What are you all doing here? Hurry up and practice the flame-urging art. After Li Zongzhou shouted, these people immediately dispersed, leaving only Li Yan alone. After all, she was his biological daughter. Young master, this dragon bone essence tempering liquid was really refined by you? Li Juyan waved the rest of the people away. He rubbed his hands and looked at Li Zongzhou with an excited expression. He glanced at Li Juyan. He remembered that this elder was very arrogant in his previous life. Back then, when he saw that he had no talent, he didn't let him refine pills no matter what. He said that the pills he refined would kill people. This is the formula of the dragon bone essence tempering liquid. However, with your current level of attainment, it's still a bit lacking. This is a scroll of the golden flames burning body formula that I collected. If you understand it thoroughly, refining a grade 3 medicinal pill won't be a problem. Li Zongzhou said. 2 scrolls appeared in his hand. Li Juyan's eyes widened in disbelief. He took the 2 scrolls and opened the golden flames burning body formula. He looked at Li Zongzhou in disbelief. You just said, what is this? Li Juyan asked. Golden flames burning body formula. Grade 3 fire elemental formula. Li Zongzhou replied. Hearing this, Li Juyan sucked in a breath of cold air. Even Li Yan beside him widened her eyes. Grade 3 fire elemental formula? In the entire Sunset City, the most powerful formula was their Li family's 7-star flame-urging formula. The strongest formula was a grade 2 elemental formula. What the disciples were cultivating now was a simplified version of the flame-urging formula, which was equivalent to a grade 1 elemental formula. Only when one became an elder or had heaven-defying talent could they cultivate the grade 2 elemental formula of the Li family. But now, Li Zongzhou casually took out a grade 3 elemental formula. This was simply shocking to the point that their jaws dropped. This is really a grade 3 elemental formula. Li Jian almost cursed it out loud. Li Zongzhou looked at these people who had not seen the world and couldn't help but feel disdain. Can't you give me some effort? This was merely a grade 3 elemental formula. In his previous life, even if it was used to wipe his feet, Li Zongzhou would still feel that its grade wasn't high enough. But in Li Juyan's hands, it was as if he had obtained a treasure. After all, Li Zongzhou's previous life's goal was too high. Now that he had started all over again, there was no need for him to keep a low profile. Since you're here, open the door of the Earthfire Pavilion. I want to go down and cultivate, Li Zongzhou said. Li Juyan was still immersed in the excitement of obtaining such a good item. This was a grade 3 elemental formula. Moreover, it was an elemental formula related to alchemy. This was even more extraordinary. In the Sunset City, only the 4 major families possessed grade 3 elemental formulas. Each of them had one, which was why the situation was like this. The number of people who were suitable to cultivate this elemental formula was limited. A what? Earthfire Pavilion? Wait, you want to go to the Earthfire Hall? That's fiery hell. When Li Juyan heard this, his face instantly changed. Even Li Yan, who was beside him, became nervous. Zongzhou, you want to go to the Earthfire Pavilion to cultivate? The Earthfire Pavilion was the core of the alchemy house. At the bottom there was an array. This fire array was a fire array left behind from ancient times. Later on, it was discovered by the ancestors of the Li family and took root here. Later on, everyone thought that this fire array was created by the ancestors of the Li family. This was something that Li Zongzhou only found out later on in his previous life. This ancient array was one of the reasons why Li Shang's family rebelled in his previous life. Chapter 18. The Earthfire Hall is a restricted area in the family. Without the permission of the patriarch, no one is allowed to enter. Furthermore, how can one cultivate in such a place? One might not even be able to return alive. Li Juyan tried to persuade Li Zongzhou. Although he didn't know where Li Zongzhou had gotten these things from, no matter what, Li Zongzhou was still a mere Yuan cultivator. Don't worry, I have my ways. Elder, you just have to open it, Li Zongjiu said. Li Zongjiu insisted on going, and Li Jian had no choice but to bring Li Zongjiu to the entrance of the Earth Fire Hall. Even with the door in front of them, they could still feel the scorching aura coming from within. It was said that under the Earth Fire Hall, there was not only a vigorous source of flames, but also a powerful and unique flame beast. Therefore, it needed to be sealed and no one was allowed to go near it. Have you thought it through? This is a fire-repelling pearl. If anything happens, it can hold on for a while. I will report this to the patriarch. No need. Li Zongjiu stepped forward and pushed open the door of the Earth Fire Hall. What entered his eyes was a sea of fiery red. Behind him, Li Yan and Li Jian's cheeks were also red from the red light, and their eyes were filled with burning flames. Be careful, Li Yan could not help but exclaim. Li Zongjiu, on the other hand, stepped into it. The scorching energy seemed to be burning Li Zongjiu's body, and the clothes on his body were also burned away. He released all the yuan power in his body. In front of him was a bottomless well. Through the mouth of the well, one could feel waves of heat coming from it. Li Zongjiu paced back and forth near the well. In the end, he retreated 3 steps away from the well and sat down cross-legged. Drawing fire to refine the body, the yuan power in Li Zongjiu's body trembled slightly. Immediately, the surrounding flames closed in on Li Zongjiu and continuously poured into Li Zongjiu's body. During this process, Li Zongjiu's body couldn't help but tremble. His skin was scorched red like a cooked crab. Last night, Li Zongjiu had just used the dragon bone essence tempering liquid to strengthen his body. Now he immediately added fuel to the fire. It could be seen that Li Zongjiu was anxious to become stronger. As Li Zongjiu cultivated, the dragon soul in his body did not appear. However, Li Zongjiu had never forgotten about them. He continued to search for a way to summon them. Only then could he use them to aid his cultivation. The surging power of fire surged into Li Zongjiu's body. Li Yan was standing at the door. Li Jian had already gone to report to the patriarch, but there had been no news so far. Li Zongjiu was also fine inside. Only Li Yan seemed a little empty. Just as Li Yan was anxiously waiting, she suddenly heard a muffled sound. Then, the surrounding yuan power seemed to be boiling at this moment. Boom! This fluctuation. Could it be that Zongjiu broke through? A trace of surprise flashed through Li Yan's eyes. Li Zongjiu's talent was extremely poor. Even if he was sent to the fog snow pill sect to cultivate, his situation still didn't improve. However, when she saw Li Zongjiu's strength, he wasn't as bad as the rumors said. He had already reached the 6th stage of the Yuan realm. Generally speaking, if a 6th stage Yuan realm cultivator wanted to break through to the 7th stage, it would take close to half a year. Back then, Li Yan spent 3 months to complete this breakthrough. Even then, she was already considered a genius. Could Li Zongjiu really break through? Twigs. The door of the Earth Fire Hall was opened and Li Zongjiu walked out. His face was still filled with indifferent confidence and arrogance. She really didn't know where this brat came from. He was so arrogant all day long. However, when Li Yin took a look at Li Zongjiu's condition, her eyes widened. Her breathing had yet to calm down. You broke through. At this moment, Li Zongjiu's Yuan power had improved and reached the 7th stage of the Yuan realm. Yes, a small breakthrough. Li Zongjiu slowly nodded his head. The person who said it sounded indifferent, as if it wasn't a big deal. However, the person who heard it was like thunder in their ears. There was actually such a person who could break through just like that. How long had it been since he entered? It hadn't even been an hour since he entered. What exactly had happened here? When Li Zongjiu and Li Yan walked out of the elixir refinery building, they saw that the people in the building were all in a hurry. However, he discovered that the surrounding people were all in a hurry, as if something urgent had happened. Even Li Gui, who had been sent to Li Zongjiu, was not in the clan at this moment. What happened? Li Yan stopped a person. This person wasn't a disciple of the Alchemy Hall, but belonged to the Martial Hall. However, Li Yan was more well known in the clan. He only stopped when Li Yan stopped him. Not good. The Sun family has invited a very powerful alchemist. He is now causing trouble in our elixir hall. Even, As the disciple spoke, he began to stammer again. What happened? Tell me. Even Elder Jian was defeated by the other party. Now both sides are going to fight, the disciple said. Seeing that Li Yan's expression was a little off, he quickly took his leave. I'll inform the family head. No need. Li Zhongjiu stretched out his hand and grabbed the disciple. This person was just a collateral disciple of the Li family. The Li family was one of the 4 major families in Wuxia city. After so long, it naturally had many factions. Li Zhongjiu, the young master, was actually very low-key. Because his talent wasn't very good, he tried to lower his reputation as much as possible. However, this disciple still recognized Li Zhongjiu. You are the young master? Just take me there. Li Zhongjiu said. This disciple originally came back to ask for help, but he was caught by Li Zhongjiu. This young master was said to be a complete waste. He didn't know how to refine elixirs, nor did he know how to cultivate. He only read a lot of books. However, reading books was useless in this era. Can your pen block a knife? But the family head, stop talking nonsense. Li Zhongjiu said. Let's go. I know where it is. Li Yan had already taken the lead and walked out. The one who was injured was her father, so she didn't need to worry. Li Zhongjiu also followed. As for this disciple, in the end, he had no choice but to walk in front of Li Zhongjiu to lead the way. Because the family head was now in closed-door training, he had already said that no one was allowed to disturb him. Since Li Zhongjiu was so confident, then they should go and take a look. The 3 of them walked out of the Li family's gate and went straight to the Li family's elixir hall. Chapter 19. In Wuxia City, the Li family Spirit Pill Hall was a landmark building. Among the Li family Spirit Pill Hall, it was the one that sold the most medicine. At the same time, it was also the one with the best reputation. Moreover, it was quite famous in Wuxia City. Usually, it was quite popular, but today the Spirit Pill Hall seemed to be filled with an unusual smell of gunpowder. Even some people only dared to watch from the surroundings, not daring to get close. Li Jian, with your level, even if your Li family brings out the old ancestor, it's useless to act rashly in front of Master Wang Lu. A mocking voice sounded. Although the surrounding Li family disciples were angry, there was nothing they could do. Because the Sun family clearly came prepared today. Not only did they bring Master Wang Lu, but there was also a swordsman in white standing in front of them with a long sword in his hand. He seemed to have the aura of an expert. This person was also the #1 expert of the Sun family. He was known as the 3 Swords Kill. It was said that when this person attacked, he would only use 3 swords, but usually the second sword would be enough to kill the person. It was because of such a fierce reputation and the murderous aura around him that ordinary people did not dare to get close to him. The leader of the Sun family was Elder Sun Qiu of the Sun family yesterday. Originally, Elder Sun Qiu was a rather active person. Whether it was good or bad, Elder Sun Qiu was basically the one who dealt with it. Hearing Elder Sun Qiu's provocation, Elder Sun Qiu was furious. Elder Li Jian was so furious that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He had already lost to the other party in the previous exchange of blows. This dragon bone quenching origin was personally refined by me. Why would it appear here? Tell me who stole it? Wang Lu asked indifferently. Beside Wang Lu, there was an unusually sad and indignant young man. It was Chang Feng, who was stripped naked and thrown out by Li Zhongjiu yesterday. The reason why he could appear today was because he had a chance to destroy this place. Therefore, he rushed out excitedly. This was because Chang Feng couldn't wait to destroy the Li family. It actually made him, the alchemy genius Chang Feng, lose face. Haha, it's quite lively. Just as Li Jian was being forced, the situation at the scene was extremely bad. It seemed that the Li family was being suppressed. A voice rang out, and the crowd naturally parted. There were a few people from the Sun family who didn't want to move aside. They saw a skinny hand grab them and throw them out with a whoosh. The crowd parted to see Li Zhongjiu taking the lead and walking in. Wang Lu turned around and saw Li Zhongjiu walking in. His eyes narrowed slightly as he stared at Li Zhongjiu. Fuck, I'm going to kill him. When Chang Feng saw Li Zhongjiu, He immediately clenched his fists tightly. He wanted to punch Li Zongjiu to death. He gritted his teeth and his body was trembling. It was as if he had been cheated on by Li Zongjiu. "It's you again. Throw him out first, don't dirty my Li family's territory." After Li Zongjiu walked in, he directly pointed at Changfeng. "Changfeng didn't even have time to make things difficult for you, but this Li Zongjiu actually took the initiative to attack." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a shadow flash behind him. The old man behind Li Zongjiu also instantly attacked. As for the Sun family's three swords expert, he snorted coldly. Li Zongjiu's arrogance clearly showed that he didn't put him in his eyes. He actually wanted to deal with the Sun family in front of him. However, when the three swords expert was about to attack, he realized that there was an old man in front of him. This old man's body looked thin and weak, but in reality when he attacked it was like a dragon soaring and tiger soaring. Pa! Palm hit his body. In an instant it was as if a firecracker was stuffed in his chest. Then with a bang his entire body was blown away. Bang! The three swords expert didn't even have time to attack before he was sent flying. What? Changfeng had seen the three swords expert strength before. He was at least a grade 5 Yuan master, but in front of this old man, he still didn't have any power to fight back. In the next second, Changfeng was once again caught by Lin Song. With a loud bang he fell in the middle of the road. "How dare you attack?" Seeing this, Sun Qiu immediately shouted angrily. The experts of the Sun family that he brought were also furious, as if they were about to attack. However, in the next moment, Sun Qiu felt that there was an additional figure behind him. Cold sweat immediately dripped down. The person who appeared behind him gave Sun Qiu a great deal of pressure. It was as if his life would be taken away by this person in the next second. "Don't move. Li Juyan, we're not here to cause trouble. However, this medicinal liquid of yours was indeed refined by Master Wang Lu. Could it be that the Li family is full of robbers?" Lin Song couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. Such a despicable method. He had seen Li Zongjiu refine this medicinal liquid with his own eyes. How could he not be familiar with this aura? The other party was clearly here to cause trouble. Moreover, seeing that the effect of the dragon bone quenching origin liquid was precious, they actually wanted to use such a despicable method to take it for themselves. He didn't expect there to be so many shameless people. Now that they were scared by Lin Song, these people all said that they were just reasonable people. "What did you just say?" Li Zongjiu looked at Sun Qiu. Only now did Sun Qiu notice Li Zongjiu. This young man came here and threw someone out with just a few words, making a mess of the situation. What kind of brain did this young master of the Li family have? Was he not afraid of completely offending the Sun family? Also, what was the origin of this expert behind him? Why was there no news at all? "Child, do you think you can challenge me just because you're not even a general?" Wang Lu finally spoke. As expected of an old man, he didn't even get angry when his disciple was thrown out. Instead, he carefully analyzed the situation in front of him. Just based on this point, everyone knew that Wang Lu wasn't easy to deal with, as expected of someone from a big city. However, in Li Zongjiu's eyes, Wang Lu was just a fledgling. "You're that arrogant alchemist, right? Your hair is already white, and you only have this little ability. You still have the nerve to come out." Li Zongjiu said without any trace of politeness. He was sarcastic towards Wang Lu. "Don't glare at me. You know our Sunset Square, right? 3 days later, you and I will have an alchemy battle. The loser will strip naked and run around Sunset City. How about it?" Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Li Yun was taking care of Li Juyan. When she heard Li Zongjiu directly making a bet with the other party, her eyes widened. She looked at Li Zongjiu in disbelief. Even the injured Li Jian couldn't sit still. "Young master, don't be rash." Chapter 20. Li Juyan and the others were shocked by Li Zongjiu's words. After all, this was a matter of reputation. The reason why the other party came to provoke them today was to let the Li family compete with him in alchemy. Li Zongjiu's actions were exactly what the other party wanted. Li Zongjiu had obviously opened his arms and now, Li Zongjiu still threw himself into his arms. It was exactly what he wanted. All right, you are the young master of the Li family. Since you have spoken, you must keep your word. Wang Lu immediately agreed. The speed of his agreement was very fast, as if he was afraid that Li Zongjiu would go back on his words. However, something like running around naked is an offense to public decency. Since you wish to compete with me, you will naturally have to take out a prize. If I lose 3 days later, I will hand over a Tier 2 pill formula with both hands. Second-grade pill recipes. Although this Grade 2 pill formula was not extremely precious, it was not something that could be easily obtained. In Wuxia City, this Grade 2 pill formula was already sufficient to be relied on. Li Zongjiu did not expect that Wang Lu would actually come up with such a condition. This was obviously to swindle Li Zongjiu. If Li Zongjiu agreed, it would be the same as giving away the Li family's property. After all, this was what the young master of the Li family had said in front of everyone. If he did not honor it, then the reputation of the Li family would be greatly damaged. Young master, you must not be impulsive at this time, Li Juyin advised, but Li Zongjiu ignored him. Instead, he looked at Wang Lu with disdain. You have the nerve to take out that third-rate pill formula of yours? You can keep this trash for yourself. Since you want to raise the stakes, fine. If I lose, I'll give you a third-grade pill formula. If you lose, leave your head behind. Li Zongjiu said slowly. If Li Zongjiu was not the young master of the Li family, then he would be easily scolded to death. When did a second-grade pill recipe become trash? Even the Li family might not have the ability to do so. Third-tier pill recipes? His Li clan did indeed have a scroll of third-tier pill recipes, but that was a family heirloom. There was no way he would hand it over. Wang Lu's objective for coming here this time was precisely for this scroll of Grade 3 medicinal pill formulas. As long as he helped the Sun family destroy the Li family, the Grade 3 pill formula would naturally belong to Wang Lu. In fact, Wang Lu's strength was more powerful than what he had shown. However, he didn't need to reveal his strength at all. Now he urgently needed a Grade 3 pill formula to break through his realm. Since the Sun family had come looking for him, Wang Lu naturally wouldn't be polite. Ha ha ha, good. You want this old man's head? I agree. However, if your Li family can't fulfill your promise, then don't blame me, Wang Lu, for doing it myself. When Wang Lu finished speaking, a trace of killing intent flashed in his eyes. This was clearly a warning to the Li family to not play any tricks. If they didn't hand over the pill formula, then he would snatch it. After saying that, Wang Lu turned around and left the spirit pill hall. Li Juyin, prepare the pill formula. Haha. Sun Qiu tidied up his clothes and said proudly. Facing Sun Qiu's arrogant attitude, Li Juyin had no other choice but to angrily wait for Sun Qiu in front of him. Wait a minute, when did I say that you can leave? Li Zongjiu waved his hand. Immediately, the disciples of the Li family understood and slammed the door shut. Seeing this, the 5 experts of the Sun family, including Sun Qiu, were shocked. Li Zongjiu, what do you want to do? Kill people on the street? Sun Qiu said disdainfully, if you want to kill people, then come. This old man's neck is right here. If you have the ability, then chop it off. This Sun Qiu looked like he was not afraid of death. He wanted to use this method to threaten Li Zongjiu. If the Sun family and the Li family went to war, the Li family would not gain any benefits. He believed that Li Zongjiu would not dare to do this. I won't chop off your neck. Previously, you said that my Li family's medicinal liquid was stolen? Do you have evidence? Li Zongjiu stepped forward and asked. This kind of imposing manner stunned Sun Qiu. This young man was actually able to threaten him. How could this be possible? This young man was only in his teens. His hair was probably not even fully grown yet. Evidence? You will know what evidence is in 3 days. Sun Qiu sneered. Haha, since you don't have evidence, you dare to slander my Li family's reputation. Bring me a pair of scissors. Today I will not kill you, but I will leave your tongue. You dare. Sun Qiu shouted angrily. This young Li Zongjiu was actually so arrogant. Oh, let's see if I dare or not. Li Zongjiu grinned. The evil aura behind that smile made Sun Qiu's heart turn cold. It was as if he had been hit by a wave of cold air. In the next moment, Lin Song made his move. The rest of the Sun family's experts wanted to stop him, but there were many experts in the Li family. Li Zhongzhou's personal bodyguard, Li Guo, also appeared and blocked one of the experts. Lin Song's hand slapped Sun Xiu to the ground. He wasn't Lin Song's opponent at all. Even Sun Xiu couldn't figure out why an existence comparable to a marshal would appear in the small Wuxia city. Moreover, he was staying by Li Zhongzhou's side and listening to the commands of a brat. Lin Song knew that Li Zhongzhou was establishing his prestige, establishing the prestige of his Li family. The shopkeeper of the spirit pill hall personally handed over the scissors. At the same time, there was a scale with a hook on it. It happened to hook Sun Xiu's tongue out. Li Zhongzhou, don't you dare. If you dare to touch me, the Sun family will not let you off. Sun Xiu kept struggling. The rest of the Sun family's experts had already been subdued and did not dare to act rashly. Are these your last words? As his voice faded, the long hook in Li Zhongzhou's hand instantly pierced into Sun Xiu's mouth. The sharp hook pierced through Sun Xiu's tongue and directly pulled out half of it. When the scissors touched Sun Xiu's tongue, Sun Xiu's eyes glared angrily. The coldness from his tongue made Sun Xiu feel fear and regret. Why did he provoke this young man? Why was Li Zhongzhou so vicious? However, he did not dare to struggle. The more he struggled, the more painful it would be. Li Yun and the others turned their heads. There were very few people who could even look at the situation in front of them. Gotcha! Li Zhongzhou did not hesitate to drop the scissors. In an instant, blood poured into Sun Xiu's mouth. Lin Song let go of Sun Xiu. As long as he spat out the blood in time, he would be able to save his life. Throw him out. Li Guo immediately stepped forward, grabbed Sun Xiu, opened the door and threw him out. The rest of the Sun family members also fled with their tails between their legs. They helped Sun Xiu up and quickly left the spirit pill hall of the Li family. This scene was really too terrifying. It was simply too memorable. Even when they recalled it, they felt a stinging pain in their mouth. Chapter 21. Elder Zhou Yan, are you alright? Li Zhongzhou looked at Li Zhou Yan, whose aura was slightly weak. Obviously, Li Zhou Yan had suffered a lot in the battle just now. Young Lord, according to my guess, Wang Lu has already reached the realm of advanced grade 2. He even has the qualifications to become a grade 3 alchemist. He is not easy to deal with. Let's see how we can suppress this matter. Li Zhou Yan said. Anyway, he had already acted tough just now. Now he just had to think about how to make up for it. Although Li Zhongzhou had brought a lot of trouble to the family, after all, he did it for the family. There was no need to blame him. He just needed to solve this matter properly. Elder, you don't need to worry about this matter. The elixir competition 3 days later will definitely become a big event in Wuxia City. I will give you a list of medicinal herbs. I want it tonight. Li Zhongzhou picked up a pen and wrote down a note. The list on the note was all of the more precious medicinal herbs. North Pole Snow Lotus Root, 7 Evil Spirit Flower, Blue-Eye Toad Innards. These are both poisonous and medicinal herbs. Young Lord Yu, Li Zhou Yan glanced at the list of medicinal herbs in his hand and suddenly widened his eyes. This Li Zhongzhou's old problem had resurfaced. Did he enter the state where he could not distinguish between poisonous herbs and medicinal herbs? Li Zhou Yan did not understand. On the other hand, Lin Song looked at Li Zhongzhou with a strange expression. As the peak master of Long Medicine Peak, it would be a joke if he said that he did not know how to refine pills. It should be known that Lin Song was also an advanced grade 2 alchemist. He was also trying to become a grade 3 alchemist. The purplish gold General Pills pill formula was the capital to become a grade 3 alchemist. Back then, Lu Shun coveted this pill formula. However, it was impossible for Lu Shun to accomplish so many things. Naturally, Lin Song had to go back and thoroughly investigate these matters. Lin Song was surprised by this Li Zhongzhou. It was because the herbs that Li Zhongzhou had grabbed were very similar to the purplish gold General Mental Pill. Could it be that the herbs that Li Zhongzhou had casually mentioned were all the formulas for grade 3 herbs? If that was the case, Lin Song would have to take him seriously. Now he was just repaying his debt of gratitude. However, Li Zhongzhou's mysteriousness and strength seemed to be innate. Today, even if Lin Song wasn't here, Li Zhongzhou would still be able to defeat him. Sun Xiao and the others couldn't escape the same fate. It was just that this arrogant fellow simply disdained to make a move. From now on, all of you will be responsible for your duties. Those who concoct pills will concoct pills, and those who sell pills will sell pills. Uncle Gue, in these 3 days, gather all of the Li clan's forces. When the time comes, I have my own arrangements, Li Zhongzhou said. Li Zhongzhou was stunned when he heard this. Although Li Zhongzhou's actions were a little overstepping his authority, in these people's eyes, Li Zhongzhou definitely had the ability to do so. Furthermore, he had a mysterious expert like Lin Song by his side. As long as it was for the good of the clan, these people would definitely do their best. Zhongzhou, what are you doing? When Li Jian saw Li Zhongzhou giving orders like this, how could he not know what Li Zhongzhou wanted to do? This was directly forcing the relationship between the two clans into a dead end. Of course, the relationship between the two clans had already reached a point of no return. Li Zhongzhou had already directly cut off the tongue of one of the other party's elders. What else was there to say? I will explain this matter clearly to my father. Tonight I will be using the alchemy building. No one is allowed to come near. After Li Zhongzhou finished speaking, he turned and left. To deal with Wang Lu, if it was Li Zhongzhou's previous life, he would have just slapped Wang Lu in the face. But now it was different. He had to have a good fight. Only in this way could Li family have a deterrent force. Li Zhongzhou's actions in the alchemy hall were soon known to the whole city. After all, countless pairs of eyes were watching this place. When they heard that Li Zhongzhou directly cut off Sun Qiu's tongue, everyone was shocked and broke out in cold sweat. This was a challenge to the Sun family's dignity. They were really worried that the Sun family's head, Sun Zhenglei, would directly bring people to force the Li family to abdicate. The Li family's great elder, Li Changjiang, also knew about this matter. He immediately gathered the family's law enforcement team. Take Li Zhongzhou back to me. The Li family's great elder's words had a high prestige in the Li family. Even if Li Zhongzhou was the young master of the Li family, he had to obey. What's more, the law enforcement team listened to Li Changjiang's orders. The law enforcement team majestically set out, but just happened to bump into Li Zhongzhou, who had just returned. Everyone in the Li family knew about Li Zhongzhou's feat in the alchemy hall. They were first surprised by Li Zhongzhou's performance. Then they admired Li Zhongzhou's courage. Now that they saw the law enforcement team surrounding Li Zhongzhou, they were very sympathetic. Although it was said that he had won glory for the Li family, now that he had caused such a big trouble, of course someone had to clean it up. Only when Li Zhongzhou was punished could this matter be resolved. The great elder has ordered the young master to follow us to the law enforcement hall. The law enforcement team leader walked out with a black face and cupped his hands towards Li Zhongzhou. After all, Li Zhongzhou was the young master of the Li family. Before he was convicted, he was not a sinner. Therefore, as long as Li Zhongzhou was willing to cooperate, he would not be willing to take action. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful to the family head. Li Changjiang asked you to arrest me? Haha, as the young master of the Li family, I order you to immediately arrest Li Changjiang and bring him to justice. Li Changjiang, colluding with the enemy and betraying the Li family, the evidence is irrefutable. Li Zhongzhou roared in a low voice. His aura was imposing. The law enforcement team leader's expression changed when he heard this. He did not expect Li Zhongzhou, a mere teenager, to have such an imposing aura. Moreover, he directly accused the great elder of colluding with the enemy and betraying the Li family. This was not a simple matter. If there was a mistake, even with Li Zhongzhou's status as the young master, he would not be able to avoid a heavy punishment. The law enforcement team was originally here to arrest Li Zhongzhou. Now Li Zhongzhou actually asked them to arrest the great elder. Was this a joke? Just as the law enforcement team leader was about to enforce the law forcefully. However, a deep voice rang out. At the same time, a threatening aura swept over. Haha, the young master has sharp eyes. I, Li Changjiang, have worked hard all my life for the Li family for 45 years. For the Li family, I have worked hard all my life. Young master, Please tell me how I colluded with the enemy and betrayed the Li family. Li Changjiang strode over. The tiger flame aura on his body seemed to want to devour Li Zongjiu. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely feel extremely suffocated. Lin Song coughed and took half a step forward. He stood behind Li Zongjiu. He directly blocked the aura. A trace of astonishment flashed across Li Changjiang's eyes. Li Zongjiu also carefully looked at the middle-aged man in front of him. Li Changjiang. In his previous life, because of this person. Because of this, Li Zongjiu's family was destroyed. Chapter 22. Li Changjiang frowned. The way Li Zongjiu looked at him made Li Changjiang feel uneasy. This kid, why does he hate me so much? I haven't come to settle the score with you yet, and now you're holding a grudge against me? Because of Li Shang's matter, Li Changjiang had already put Li Zongjiu on his kill list, but now the only thing he didn't know was how much Li Zongjiu knew. However, with Li Changjiang's identity and status, as long as he dealt with the following matters properly, even if Li Zongjiu had 100 mouths, no one would believe him. At the same time, Li Changjiang also glanced at the skinny old man behind Li Zongjiu. He faintly felt a sense of familiarity. Where did Li Zongjiu find such a person? This person's cultivation is above mine. Li Changjiang thought. Is this what you're relying on? If I say you're guilty, then you're guilty. Do you need evidence? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Li Changjiang was an old fox. Before doing anything, he must ensure his own safety. Therefore, finding evidence from Li Changjiang's body was more difficult than ascending to the sky. No matter where he started, he could get away with it cleanly. However, Li Zongjiu didn't care because this Li Changjiang wouldn't be able to jump around for long. After Wang Lu died, the next person to be dealt with was Li Changjiang. Haha, you're really worthy of being the young lord. With just a few words you want to convict this elder? Good. Do you need evidence? Haha, you need evidence? Li Zongjiu, based on your actions in the Spirit Pill Hall, this elder is deliberately trying to sow discord between the Sun family and the Li family, causing my Li family to fall into a passive situation. If this old man beside you takes action, then it's equivalent to bringing outsiders to attack the Li family. I'm afraid that you, Li Zongjiu, are the real traitor. Law enforcement team, take Li Zongjiu down and send him to the law enforcement hall for trial. Li Changjiang's aura was like a dragon. His order was like a general commanding thousands of soldiers and horses. Those who didn't know would think that Li Changjiang had become the head of the Li family. At the same time, this sentence prevented Lin Song from taking action. If Lin Song took action, then it would really be like bringing outsiders to attack their own people. Let's see who dares. Li Zongjiu shouted. Stop. Just as the two sides were about to attack, a furious voice came from afar. Li Tianqing strode over from afar. If he didn't appear soon, there would probably be a bloodbath in the Li family. Seeing Li Tianqing's arrival, these people restrained their arrogance a little. Even the law enforcement hall couldn't rebel. In this family, the only ones who could punish and impeach the patriarch were the elders of the Hall of Elders. Of course, this was, under normal circumstances, wits at a time. I already know about this. Li Zongjiu, let me ask you, will you be able to defeat Wang Lu in 3 days? Li Tianqing glanced around. Although Li Changjiang had lowered his head slightly, he didn't have much reverence or respect for Li Tianqing. After all, in terms of strength, Li Changjiang's strength was slightly above Li Tianqing's. Wang Lu will lose without a doubt. Li Zongjiu replied in an indifferent tone. Li Zongjiu's status as a pill venerate and alchemy sage would lose a lot of face if even someone like Wang Lu could become his opponent. Just because you say so. If I can finish this alchemy with my mouth, then I can too. Li Changjiang said disdainfully. Family head, although Li Zongjiu's identity is the young master, this time, even if you personally appear, you can't shield him. This Li Zongjiu not only offended the Sun family, breaking the balance between us and the Sun family, but also injured Wang Lu's disciple. Wang Lu's identity is Northern Medicine City, a member of the Northern Medicine Alliance. Northern Medicine Alliance. In the Shengyan dynasty, the status of alchemists was extremely noble and rare. Even more so, a high-level alchemist was even more precious. Therefore, an alliance was gradually formed between the alchemists. If you want to sell the pills you refine at a good price, if you want to maximize the value of your identity and obtain the most generous returns, you have to rely on the alliance. Northern Medicine Alliance. Although it wasn't a big shot, it was clear that there were no less than 4 sects that cooperated with the Northern Medicine Alliance. Each of these sects was not weaker than Wuxia Elixir sect. Wuxia Elixir sect was the biggest sect within 100 miles of Wuxia city, but in the Shangyan dynasty, it could only be regarded as a drop in the ocean. If Li Zongjiu really angered Wang Lu, it didn't matter. With the strength of the Li family, a second-grade alchemist might not be able to set off a storm. But once the Northern Medicine Alliance was angered, even if the forces of the entire Wuxia city were combined, they would not be a match for the Northern Medicine Alliance. The Northern Medicine Alliance only needed to move a finger, and the Li family was very likely to be annihilated. Whether the young master wins or loses, he will anger the Northern Medicine Alliance. At that time, family head, you have to think clearly. How much threat can our Li family resist? Li Changjiang said in a deep voice. The implication was that if the Li family suffered a disaster, then it would all be Li Tianqing's fault. Today he protected Li Zongjiu. Today, only by handing over Li Zongjiu could everything be settled. So what if it's the Northern Medicine Alliance? The Li family of Wuxia city has never been afraid of a strong enemy. If Wang Lu loses, it proves that Li Zongjiu is stronger than Wang Lu. Is there only one Northern Medicine Alliance in this world? Even if the Northern Medicine Alliance really comes, I, Li Tianqing, will be the first to stand in front of them. Li Tianqing's voice was like a muffled roar of a lion. It seems that family head believes that the young master can defeat Wang Lu? Li Changjiang's mouth curved into a cold smile. Fine, as long as the young master can defeat Wang Lu, I have nothing to say. But if the young master loses, then I have to use the Elder's Order for the sake of the Li family's 100 years of foundation. The Elder's Order. Once the Great Elder issued the Elder's Order, there would be an Elder's meeting. In this meeting, they would judge the behavior of the current family head, which was to start an impeachment meeting. After Li Changjiang finished speaking, he was ready to turn and leave. Great Elder, please wait. Li Zongjiu suddenly shouted. Li Changjiang turned around and looked at Li Zongjiu. Why? Does the young master know his mistake? Haha, I didn't have time to attend Cousin Li Shang's funeral on Long Herb Peak a few days ago. Cousin Li Shang asked me to give this to you. Li Zongjiu said and handed a jade pendant to Li Changjiang. When Li Changjiang saw the jade pendant, his pupils shrank. My condolences, Elder. Chapter 23. Li Tianqing didn't know what Li Zongjiu had given Li Changjiang. However, when he saw Li Changjiang leave in a huff, it seemed that Li Changjiang had something to say. He seemed to be holding something in his chest. His whole person seemed to have become gloomy. Although Li Tianqing was puzzled, he didn't ask anything. He just sighed and stared at Li Zongjiu in front of him. Kid, you're all grown up now. Do you really think you can do whatever you want with the identity of the young master? I heard that you bypassed me and directly mobilized the family's combat power. Li Tianqing said in a deep voice. Li Zongjiu thought that Li Tianqing was here to stop him. But who knew that Li Tianqing's next sentence would surprise Li Zongjiu? Even if you want to mobilize so many people, you should at least do it secretly. If you make such a big fuss, they will definitely know that you're going to start a war. Then you won't be able to launch a sneak attack. Li Tianqing said. What? You agreed to start a war? Li Zongjiu looked at Li Tianqing in surprise. The Sun family is ambitious and has long wanted to annex our Li family. They didn't have any hope in the past, but now there are internal problems in our Li family, and they have an opportunity to take advantage of it. Originally, I wanted to deal with the internal problems first before dealing with the Sun family. However, your actions have pushed all my plans forward. Li Tianqing said with a heavy heart. Internal problems. Obviously, Li Tianqing had long been aware of it, but now wasn't the time. If he acted hastily, it might really ruin the plan. Everything must be prepared? Indeed, it must be prepared. However, Li Zhongjiu smiled slightly. Father, don't worry. They won't be able to jump around for long. Young master, the herbs from the Spirit Pill Hall are here. Here is the key to the alchemy building. Elder Juyin asked me to send them together. Two guards came forward with a ring in their hands. It was an interspatial ring and there was also a key. These guards were also Li Gui's subordinates. Now that Li Gui was busy recruiting people, he asked these guards to send the items over. Good, just in time. He didn't expect the Spirit Pill Hall to be so fast. Brat, you actually managed to convince this Elder Jian to give you the entire alchemy building. Interesting. Li Tianqing was also very surprised to see this scene. As the alchemy elder, Li Juyan did not have any real power. His only responsibility was to focus on alchemy. However, the alchemy hall disciples under Li Juyan were practically the mainstay of the Li family. Hence, Elder Li Juyan's influence was also extremely great. If he was unhappy, then even if the head of the Li family came, it would be useless. This alchemy complex was Li Juyan's treasure. It was basically impossible for ordinary people to borrow his alchemy complex to refine pills. Li Tianqing was surprised that Li Zhongjiu was able to get the key. You come with me too, Li Zhongjiu said to Lin Song. The two of them bid farewell to Li Tianqing and the others and went to the alchemy pavilion. You are the peak leader of Long Herb Peak. It shouldn't be a problem for you to assimilate these herbs, right? In the alchemy pavilion, Li Zhongjiu said to Lin Song, who was beside him. I haven't done it for half a year. I'm a little rusty, but it shouldn't be a problem. Alright, refine all these herbs into medicinal liquid. Li Zhongjiu did not stand on ceremony. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes to rest and adjust his aura. Lin Song also threw these herbs into the cauldron in front of him. There were layers in the cauldron where the herbs could be placed. After the herbs were refined by the fire, they would become medicinal liquid and drip down from the cracks at the bottom of the cauldron. The alchemist would then classify the herbs according to the difficulty of the refinement. Boom! Lin Song's dense yuan power was instantly injected into the cauldron. It directly heated the cauldron until it turned red. Soon a flame jumped at the bottom of the cauldron. It boiled and rushed into the cauldron. Lin Song was shocked when he felt the change in front of him. I didn't expect that there would be a fire array hidden in the Li family. No wonder the Li family could continue refining pills for so long. Time flew by. As the sun set, the moon gradually rose. Li Zhongjiu and Lin Song were still busy in the alchemy pavilion. However, in the Sun family, the head of the Sun family, Sun Zhenglei, saw Elder Sun Qiu being carried back. Even his tongue was cut off and thrown on the road. This was equivalent to giving the Sun family a hard slap in the face. In his rage, Sun Zhenglei also smashed a table to pieces with a slap. Head, our men have received news that the Li family seems to be gathering people. What a Li family to be so brazen. Good, I want to see how much you can stop my Sun family. Sun Zhenglei also immediately issued an order, intending to gather all the experts of his family back. Master Wang Lu, if the Li family is not willing to hand over the items in 3 days, my Sun family will definitely massacre them. Wang Lu, who was sitting beside him, closed his eyes and did not speak. As his most outstanding disciple, Chongfeng's spirit seemed to have been dealt a huge blow by Li Zhongjiu. He seemed to be on the verge of going crazy. This made Wang Lu very unhappy. Therefore, Wang Lu decided that not only would he obtain the grade 3 pill formula, but he would also exterminate the Li family. Sun Zhenglei wasn't sure what Wang Lu was doing. Suddenly, he saw Wang Lu open his eyes, and the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. Brother Mu Yuan, you're finally here. As soon as he finished speaking, the candles in the room seemed to sway. Sun Zhenglei frowned and suddenly his eyes widened. His entire body seemed to tremble slightly, and he felt a bone-chilling cold on his back. Haha, Brother Wang Lu, long time no see. It's rare for you to think of an old friend like me. Soon after, Sun Zhenglei was shocked to find that an old man in a green robe had appeared beside him. He picked up a cup of tea from the table and casually grabbed a handful of fruits and stuffed them into his mouth. I'm starving to death. Brat, tell your men to prepare some food and wine for me. The person pushed Sun Zhenglei out. At this moment, a large number of guards rushed in from outside the house, ready to take down the old man. The Sun family was heavily guarded. How could they let a person break in so easily? However, Sun Zhenglei raised his hand. Don't move. Stand down. Sun Zhenglei carefully looked at the person in front of him. So it's Senior Mu Yuan. It's an honor to meet you. Chapter 24. Mu Yuan. The person in front of him, who had one foot on the chair, looked extremely sloppy, like a beggar on the street. He was actually the famous assassin Mu Yuan, who had enjoyed a reputation within 1,000 miles of this place. It was said that Mu Yuan only had one principle: pay him and he would do it, no matter what kind of dirty business it was. Of course, Mu Yuan's price was also very high. At the same time, Mu Yuan would only accept one person's request during this mission. For example, if you paid Mu Yuan to kill someone but the target wanted to pay twice the price to not kill him, Mu Yuan would refuse. However, you could pay more and let Mu Yuan kill the person who hired him. If that was the case, Mu Yuan was very willing. Most of the time, Mu Yuan would first kill the target of the mission, and then return to kill the buyer of the mission. Therefore, for this eccentric assassin, many people were unwilling to deal with him. There was only one reason why he could still be so carefree after killing so many people. This Mu Yuan was an expert at the general level. Even the Sun clan would not be able to invite such a powerful person to help them. If such a person came, they would have to treat him like an ancestor. If a general-level expert was angry and prepared to start a killing spree, there would be very tragic consequences. Kid, you have some eyesight. Mu Yuan praised Sun Zhenglei. I saw that female guard outside earlier. She looks pretty good and I like her very much. Tonight, I would like to have a chat with her and have a heart-to-heart talk. The corner of Mu Yuan's mouth curled into an evil smile. When Sun Zhenglei heard this, he quickly went through this in his mind and replied with a smile. Senior Mu Yuan, don't worry. I will arrange it right away. Sun Zhenglei left. When he left, his face became extremely gloomy. Ask Sun Sanyang to come over. Sun Zhenglei said in a deep voice. Hearing the family head's words, the guard's face changed because he had also heard Mu Yuan's words. But family head, Sanyang's husband just passed away. This Sun Sanyang wasn't a disciple of the Sun family. She was married to a disciple of the Sun family. Later on, during an operation, the disciple of the Sun family died in battle. Since they were brothers, he had to protect his sister-in-law. However, Sun Zhenglei was actually asking Sun Sanyang to do such a thing. Go. If we can't entertain this person today, my Sun family will definitely perish. But if we succeed, then even if it's only a short period of 2 days, we'll definitely be able to become the #1 clan in Sunset City. Inside the room, Mu Yuan wiped the oil off his mouth and grinned. I owed you a favor 2 years ago. Today, Grandmaster Wang Lu, do you want me to return this favor? That's right. 3 days later, I have a competition with someone. At that time, I need you to help me get something. Wang Lu said. If it was not necessary, Wang Lu would not deal with such a person. He had no other choice. Don't worry, Grandmaster Wang Lu. I'll get you whatever you want in this Sunset City. The Li family. Li Zongjiu carefully stared at the alchemy furnace in front of him. The heavenly void divine image was running in his body. At this moment, the alchemy process was taken over by Li Zongjiu. Lin Song could only sit aside and help to look after the fire. The one who was in control of the overall situation was Li Zongjiu. There seems to be a very strange force in this kid's body. Lin Song stared at Li Zongjiu in front of him. At this moment, Li Zongjiu was completely immersed in the alchemy process. His fire control technique is so skillful. Even I can't compare to him. In Li Zongjiu's hands, he was able to control each wisp of flame to an exquisite degree. Every wisp of flame was integrated into the medicinal liquid. The flames from the same hand could actually control different temperatures. Suddenly, Lin Song's eyes widened as he looked at Li Zongjiu's body. At this moment, a white aura was being released. Boom! Suddenly, a white shadow seemed to fly out from Li Zhongjiu's body and landed on the alchemy furnace, hovering above it. This is White Dragon. White Dragon Original Spirit. When Lin Song saw this scene, he was so scared that he almost knelt down to worship. To be able to possess the power of Original Spirit, one was already a genius among geniuses. People like Li Zhongjiu who were born with Original Spirit were already top geniuses. Looking at Li Zhongjiu's Original Spirit again. It was the legendary White Dragon Original Spirit. In the legend of alchemists, White Dragon was the ancestor of divine pills. It had only been heard of but never seen. No one knew what kind of effect it had. White Dragon Original Spirit, the ancestor of alchemy. In the future, this kid's alchemy realm will definitely reach the peak. Now Lin Song somewhat understood where Li Zhongjiu's confidence came from. He even dared to make him his slave. A person who possessed a natural original spirit would definitely have an extraordinary path in the future. But I'm very curious. What kind of effect does this White Dragon Original Spirit have? Lin Song thought in his heart. Then, he carefully observed Li Zhongjiu's actions. The medicinal liquid in the alchemy furnace had already begun to take shape, and Li Zhongjiu's original spirit seemed to be insufficient. Just as Lin Song was about to take action, he realized that the power of White Dragon suddenly poured into the half-formed elixir, directly activating the elixir that had yet to take shape. In such an environment, the elixir condensed very well, and was extremely condensed. The elixir is done. Lin Song thought in his heart. When the power of White Dragon poured into the elixir, Li Zhongjiu felt more relaxed. Suddenly, Li Zhongjiu opened his eyes and slammed his palm on it. Buzz! The alchemy furnace shook. The lid suddenly flew away. From the alchemy furnace there was a strong aura. When the fluctuation of the elixir spread out, the flames in the entire alchemy building could not help but jump. This elixir fragrance. When Lin Song felt the fluctuation, he immediately jumped up in shock. Fortunately, the alchemy building itself had a seal. This elixir fragrance could not spread out and could only stay in the alchemy building. Grade 3. Grade 3 elixir. Lin Song's eyes were filled with shock. Li Zhongjiu stretched out his hand and released his original spirit, grabbing the 3 elixirs in his hand. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile. Although the refining of the elixir this time had almost exhausted Li Zhongjiu's original spirit, it was a good thing that he succeeded. You can actually refine grade 3 elixirs. Lin Song looked at Li Zhongjiu in front of him in shock. At such a young age, he was already a 3rd grade alchemist. If he grew up in the future, he would be even more powerful. My technique is still a little rough. My cultivation is still a little lacking. Li Zhongjiu could not help but shake his head. Although he succeeded, the quality could only be considered average. It was really damaging to his reputation as an alchemist saint. However, in Lin Song's eyes, this sentence was completely said for the sake of showing off. What elixir is this? Lin Song's nose twitched. Even if it was just a light sniff of the elixir fragrance, he could feel the original spirit in his body becoming restless. Grade 3 elixir. Tiger Vitality Amplification Elixir. Chapter 25. Tiger Energy Amplification Pill. It was a primary grade 3 pill. After swallowing it, one would be able to break through the Yuan Qi like the Tiger King. This is for you. Within 2 days, you must break through to the Yuan General Realm. Li Zhongjiu threw a pill to Lin Song. Lin Song's eyes widened when he caught the pill. He felt that it was unbelievable. Such a pill could be sold for millions of gold coins anywhere. Even though he was the peak master of the Long Medicine Peak, he only had a savings of 100,000 gold yuan. In order to reach 1,000,000 gold yuan, he would at the very least need the help of the Fog Pill Sect or Lin Song to use the resources of the Long Medicine Peak in order to achieve this. With this pill, I have a 90% chance of breaking through to the Yuan General Realm. Lin Song's cultivation had already reached grade 9 Yuan Master. However, he had not been able to break through because he had not accumulated enough strength. His current strength was still lacking. After all, he was old and his potential was not enough. That was why Lindsong had racked his brains and put in so much effort to get his hands on the purple gold heart pills formula. However, before he could start refining it, he was assassinated by Lu Shun. You should find a place to break through. After Li Zongzhou finished speaking, he walked towards Li Tianqing's study. After passing through a few courtyards, he arrived in front of Li Tianqing's study. It was already late at night. Li Tianqing was not asleep yet. Instead, he was reading a book. You're done refining the pill? Li Tianqing asked in surprise when he saw Li Zongzhou walk in. Li Zongzhou was refining pills? Li Tianqing didn't stop Li Zongzhou. Instead, he encouraged him. After all, Li Zongzhou could refine anything he wanted under the sky that Li Tianqing was holding up. It was just refining pills and wasting some medicinal materials. This wasn't a big deal to Li Tianqing. I'm done, Li Zongzhou said. He then naturally sat opposite Li Tianqing. Although Li Tianqing was still young, there was already a trace of white on his sideburns. He had not observed it carefully before. Although Li Tianqing was young, there was already a trace of white on his sideburns. In fact, Li Tianqing's cultivation talent was quite impressive. However, there were too many family matters that had to be dealt with. Therefore, Li Tianqing's cultivation had been delayed, causing his cultivation to stagnate. Otherwise, given Li Tianqing's talent, it would not be strange for him to reach the primary general realm. Why are you looking at me? Li Tianqing lifted his head and glanced at Li Zongzhou. He could not help but smile. This brat's return this time had also undergone a shocking transformation. Although Li Tianqing was very busy, he still paid a lot of attention to Li Zongzhou. In addition, as soon as Li Zongzhou came back, he did a few big things which alarmed him. Father, don't worry. I will make the Li family truly prosper, Li Zongzhou said in a loud voice. At the same time, he placed a porcelain bottle on the table. Haha, you're my son. Of course. Li Tianqing laughed a few times. He then looked at the porcelain bottle and asked, Is this the elixir you refined? Yes. This elixir should be eaten while it's hot, Li Zongzhou said. He then stood up. Li Zongzhou would not say too many words. However, this rebirth had given Li Zongzhou a chance to redeem himself. Li Zongzhou left Li Tianqing's study and lifted his head to look at the bright moonlight. Today would be the beginning of a great upheaval. Tiger Vitality Amplification Elixir. Li Zongzhou returned to his room and swallowed the elixir. Li Tianqing picked up the porcelain bottle from the desk. The porcelain bottle in his hand was still warm. Obviously, the elixir in the bottle had just been refined. This kid has already learned how to refine elixir in half a year at Long Herb Peak. Li Tianqing opened the lid of the porcelain bottle. Immediately, a burst of elixir fragrance filled the air. In an instant, Li Tianqing's expression changed. Although Li Tianqing had never seen a grade 3 elixir before, he had seen many grade 2 elixir pills. Naturally, he knew what kind of effect the elixir in his hand had on this smell. Even a slight whiff of the elixir fragrance was enough to make the yuan energy in his body boil. This elixir. This kid. What did this kid do? This elixir is at least a grade 3 elixir. Li Tianqing's expression kept changing, but in the end, his face revealed a look of ecstasy. With this elixir, I will definitely reach the primary general level in 3 years. Li Tianqing's eyes shone brightly. He did not know how Li Zongzhou did it, but Li Zongzhou had done it. This was his son. His son had refined a grade 3 elixir. There was also the mysterious old man. Li Tianqing could tell from Li Zongzhou's eyes that his son had undergone an earth-shattering change. Perhaps the glory of the Li family will be just around the corner. Recalling the glory of the Li family in the past and looking at the current decline, how could a small Luoxia city bear to let the Li family hide in this place? Li Zongzhou was in his room. First, he adjusted his body to its peak state. My heavenly void divine image seems to have a different experience after cultivating it from the beginning in this life. Li Zongzhou thought to himself. As the surrounding yuan energy entered his body, he could feel the majestic vitality in his body. Compared to the previous situation, Li Zongzhou's foundation was more or less established. After refining this tiger vitality accumulation elixir, My Yuan energy cultivation should be able to break through to the primary master level. Primary master level. Everyone in the Xingwu continent cultivated Yuan energy, but very few could condense it into a form. Those who could achieve something were even more unlikely. In the huge Li family, there were no more than 10 Yuan master-level experts. The great elder of Longhe Peak, Lu Shun, was only a grade 3 Yuan master. Therefore, Li Zongjie was able to break through to the primary master level at such a young age. If news of his talent spread, it would definitely shock everyone within a 10,000-mile radius. The most talented person in the Li family was, of course, Li Shang. He was able to enter Longhe Peak to cultivate and become an elite disciple. Li Shang's talent was imaginable, but he was only a grade 6 Yuan master. Li Zongjie's current strength was already at the 7th stage of the Yuan realm. If he wanted to kill Li Shang, it would be a piece of cake. If Li Zongjie only set his sights on people like Li Shang, he would not be able to achieve anything in his life. There were countless enemies in the Xingwu continent who were stronger than Li Shang, Lu Shun, and Li Changjiang. He had once stood at the peak of this continent. Li Zongjie also knew that the Li family would not only have to face enemies like the Sun family. The other 3 major families in Wuxia city were only worthy of being the Li family's stepping stones. After adjusting his aura to its peak, Li Zongjie stuffed the Tiger Vitality Accumulation Elixir into his mouth. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.